Donald Trump readies himself for Islamabad. Actually, it's JD Vance is going to Islamabad, Pakistan, to negotiate. Just exactly what are the points and the terms of the ceasefire? Welcome to Doug in Exile. This is where the happy patriots are. Trump has also signaled what he calls the greatest reset ever. Well, that's the final message of this whole thing. This is going to be a giant episode. I just have all of the news to cover quickly, kind of to get us all caught up of what happened overnight. So welcome to all of you. Thanks for watching. We will get to the chat as you come in. Of course, you're going to give us a thumbs up and leave a comment. Do you believe, I'm going to give you evidence, but just take a guess. Do you believe we're going to go back to shelling Iran? And I mean, you know, probably before the ceasefire is done. Let me know what you think. Here's JD Vance getting ready. He's already gone on that plane. He's in the air right now going to Islamabad.
We're looking forward to the negotiation. I think it's going to be positive. We'll, of course, see, as the President of the United States said, if the Iranians are willing to negotiate in good faith, we're certainly willing to extend the open hand. If they're going to try to play us, then they're going to find that the negotiating team is not that receptive. So we're going to try to have a positive negotiation. The President has gave us some pretty clear guidelines, and we're going to see. So I hope you guys have a safe flight. We'll certainly take some questions later on. But for now, let's get on the plane and hit the road. Thank you all.
Biggest significant thing here is that JD Vance is doing diplomatic work. It's he and Witkoff and Kushner, not Marco Rubio. And I believe this is part of keeping, there's rumors about JD Vance being one of them, you know, the Tucker Carlson types, because he did oppose going into this battle with Iran. So was Marco Rubio against it. So apparently was Susie Wiles. Like, his whole administration came around and they were really warning him, like they were afraid to do anything. And we're going to go into the philosophy. They weren't afraid to do anything. They just believed there wouldn't be a positive outcome. And Trump is, you know, this is Trump's war. But here's the thing. If it comes out positive, it will be his war. It will be purely to Trump's credit. If it comes out negative, it will purely be his fault. So, and I think Trump likes those odds. He's bet on them, and usually it comes out pretty much to his favor, but we don't know. This is the whole thing with war. No one knows until it's over if it was good or not. Could have been the biggest mistake in the world for the founders to go to war with the UK or Britain. Could have been the biggest mistake in the world for us to go after Japan or World War II. This could have been the biggest mistake in the world. You don't find out till after. Excuse me. Goodness. So, welcome. And of course, you guys can take your guess. What I don't tend to lean on is people that are just reflexively anti-war. And I believe that everyone is reflexively anti-war to some degree. It's a horror. Winston Churchill hated war more than everyone, and no one conducted a bigger war than Churchill. So I'm much more sympathetic to war because I believe I have a very skeptical view of the human heart, that I believe there's real evil, and therefore there's real evil. There's countries being led by real evil people, and Iran is one of them. So, and I mean lunatic. They shouldn't be allowed to have the keys to the car. The idea that they're on the brink of just stealing their own nuclear bombs and building them, it is insane and irresponsible for any planet to allow that to happen. And you can just be an isolationist all you want and say, you know what? It won't affect me. Nuclear bombs on the end of an intercontinental ballistic missile is not something that you want to be navigating. That's all. That's all Trump is, I believe, is saying also. I didn't know I was on this tab or not. I have a ton of tabs to share, you guys. So this is going to kind of be a bit of a mess, but there is a ton to share here. This is the Strait of Hormuz. This is where we're at. I'm just going to show you this little graphic here. All the black area is the water of the Strait of Hormuz, a narrow shipping lane that makes it vulnerable to all. And this is, by the way, this is an actual radar showing the amount of ships that are allowed to go through. They just have to make it around this corner. So that's some of that. It does impact some of the strategy. And I mean, this is massive global stuff, guys. Just so you know, if we allowed Iran to hold the world hostage with the Strait of Hormuz, it would affect every international market. So you can say, well, it doesn't affect us just because we don't buy our oil from there. No, but we don't have enough oil. The whole world economy doesn't have enough oil to navigate this. If the whole world's economy collapses, America's economy collapses because now it's a giant global market. Everyone's in bed with everyone. We get our spices from here. We get our batteries from there. We get our steel from here. We get it from there. Trump wants to bring in more of that now, but you can't build a giant steel refinery in 6 months when you realize you really, really need one. So you have to start managing this stuff by dealing with and manipulating other countries. I'm going to get into this a lot more, but this is the tweet, okay? Less than 10 vessels have transited the Strait of Hormuz in the last 24 hours. This is as of 6 a.m. this morning. 10 vessels in the last 24 hours. I looked up on Grok. I asked AI, what's a normal amount of vessels to go through the Strait of Hormuz on a normal day, say before we started bombing Iran? A normal amount of vessels is 150 vessels a day. And we had just 10 vessels going through in the last 24 hours. According to automatic identification systems, AIS, that's what this radar is called here, when you can actually see the footprint of the digital signature of every boat. They do it with airplanes too. The AIS information on marine traffic more than 48 hours after President Donald Trump announced a 2-week ceasefire if they opened the strait. So this is going to talk about all of that, not just the strategy, but why I believe it's worth going to war over this. And of course, you guys know the rules. My audience is allowed to disagree, but you be nice to each other. In fact, I don't even mind if you say bad stuff about me. I'm a big boy. I've got the microphone. This is my show. But don't go after each other and call each other traitor and FU and Jew lover and all that stuff. You get bounced for that. So I do like a discussion, just like Trump had J.D. Vance inside of his administration, and J.D. Vance wasn't for this thing. You're not obliged to go for it, I don't think. I think if you're going to remain in the administration and you're doing something like a bombing of Iran, you know, Trump's not going to tolerate if J.D. Vance goes out in public and fights against the war. So I think Trump goes, hey, how about you go do the negotiations? I like that. I don't want a warmonger to go do negotiations. I don't mind if Trump's a warmonger, but I want his administration to go and kind of tiptoe around it, see what kind of a deal we can make, because now they're trying to hammer out those 15 points that Trump came up with. And they're in battle against the 10 points that the Islamic insane regime came up with, which are non-negotiable. They're a no-no. We're not going to do that. So Trump has said we're going to have a ceasefire while we hammer this thing out. Usually you negotiate a ceasefire and everyone agrees to these terms. Iran put out their list, America put out our list. So, and a lot of people question, oh, Trump's strategy. Fine, question his strategy. Maybe he should have gotten a deal before he agreed to the ceasefire. But I really think what Trump and the other side wanted was some breathing room to think. Not necessarily, I mean, we're going to rearm and they're going to rearm, fine. But they also need to think. Iran needs to really see like what leadership is gone and missing, what of their military and their defenses are missing. And then they have to take an assessment and go, you know, maybe we want to be a little softer. Maybe we want to go along with America a little more before we eat more of their missiles. And that's what we're getting ready to do. And I'll explain that too. Here's Jesse Waters.
Well, Jesse, there's a number of options that are available to us. Yes, we can go back to the kinetic operations where we hammer their bridges and electrical stations, but there's also another one. Everybody's been talking about Karg Island. Here's a great opportunity. We don't even need to land forces there. What we need to do is isolate that island, put out the word that it is quarantined, make sure there are no pilots. Those are the individuals that take those very large container ships in and out of the ports to get Iranian oil, and tell them, no, you're not allowed to do that anymore. Your pilot shack is now a target. You don't want to take those ships in and out. And that cuts off their economic lifeline without us risking forces ashore. By the same token, that builds in time for us to continue to replenish and also for those British minesweeps and others to get there so a coalition of the willing from Europe can, in fact, start to contribute in a meaningful manner.
I'm sorry, my sound was off. This is a strategy that does not involve re-engaging Iran with bombs, but just going in and focusing on the Strait of Hormuz, because as that Chiron says at the bottom, Iran needs the Strait to survive. This is what funds their whole regime. You take over Hormuz and you win. So he's saying Brits can bring in their minesweepers, clean out all the mines. If we can get Europe to buy in, and if we can get some of our NATO allies, and this is going to be a lot about getting out of NATO too, because NATO's no good if they don't help us with the Strait of Hormuz, and they're the ones that are getting all the oil from it. They're conceding then and helping keep the Iranian Islamic fundamentalist regime in control of, one third of the Earth's oil supply. He's talking about bringing our own minesweepers and we just take it over. And by the way, the Strait of Hormuz remains vulnerable to both us laying mines and Iran laying mines. The difference is we don't lay mines. We're not insane lunatics. Iran are insane lunatics. Everyone knows they will lay down mines. A shipping container full of teddy bears, they would bomb it with drones. They'd suicide a bunch of drones into a shipping container full of teddy bears. We would not bomb a shipping container full of teddy bears because we're not lunatics. And that's the problem. You're dealing with lunatics. Ah, look at that. You're a very talented painter, Doug. Never drop the brush. Oh, yes. I got a painting, a new oil painting over there. I'm just finishing up. I love doing art, guys. I was put here as an artist. Look, we got 1,000 people watching. Now, the whole dealing with a insane death cult lunatic country, not the country, but the IRGC who are in control of that country. Remember, there's 30% of the country are lunatics that run that place. 70% are peaceful, Western, progressive, brilliant, wonderful Iranian, Persian people that had their country stolen from them, handed over to these lunatics by Jimmy Carter for 47 years. And this war never stopped. The closest thing to stopping it, the only hope of it is Trump. And I don't think Americans have the will to stop it. I don't know if we have what it takes to stop it. Yes, 1,000 viewers is very good. Very thumbs up. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you guys. We're going to put on a great show. This is going to be a long show. A lot of strategy, big picture stuff. We're dealing with madmen. So even when Trump said, we will end your civilization, that kind of talk, the madman theory that Nixon developed or Nixon talked about, China had to believe that we were crazy enough, and Truman and all these guys, Russia had to believe that we were crazy enough to drop a bomb on them, to go nuclear. It works. It only works, by the way, if your enemy is sane. It doesn't work if your enemy is insane. Iran is an enemy that's insane. So we go talk civilization ending, and they're like, great, we're a suicide cult. And that might be what Trump underestimates.
I'm not saying this is a bad idea. I'm just trying to run through the repercussions. So if you have a naval blockade of Karg, that then will raise the world price of oil dramatically, and it'll really piss off the Chinese.
So that's if we and Europe do a naval blockade, which is a strategy that we've used. By the way, okay, and then we anger China because that's where they get their oil. I can't move on without talking about China for a second. China is looking at the Strait of Hormuz. Right, and I'm going to get into this a little bit more because the United Arab Emirates is reminding everybody the seas are supposed to be open and free. Open and free, open and free. That's a universal, true thing that we've always done. Our founders knew it. Seas are open and free. And now, for the first time, which not for the first time, actually, Iran has charged like a tax or it's a tariff or a toll for running ships through the Strait of Hormuz. If Iran ends up securing the Strait of Hormuz, and this works because it's a unique pinch point, that it's very easy to overwhelm that pinch point with a minimal amount of ballistics and threats, mines, drones. It's so narrow. It's not like policing the entire sea. China's watching because there's another strait between China and Thailand. I'm sorry, Taiwan. And as you know, China thinks their Taiwan, just like Russia saw Ukraine as part of Russia, China sees Taiwan as part of China. And there's a narrow strait, those seas that China has to keep open legally because all of the international shipping lanes have agreed to keep them open. Well, China's going to go, if we allow Iran, and Trump is dinked around with this idea, if we allow Iran to charge a toll fee for going through the Strait of Hormuz, and Trump goes, yeah, we're going to negotiate. We might even be part of it. We might take half, $2 million per ship. And of course, Iran is going to give China a free pass. They're not going to charge them. They'll charge all of our allies. They'll charge Israel double. They'll charge us double. And China and Russia, free shipping. Once we allow it to be legal to charge a toll in a strait that's supposed to be open and free, China can say, oh, we're going to charge a strait on our strait for Taiwan. See, once you set that precedent, like right now, we can say that precedent isn't anywhere there. Yeah, $2 million per tanker. Not a good strategy to give China that precedent is what we don't want to do.
What happens then? How long does that last, that embargo of that island?
Well, I think it lasts until we can figure out what the Iranians are doing, continue to target their command and control, and if necessary, continue the kinetic tax like you intimated. Go after those bridges. Go after that electrical plants. Put them down and make them hurt. Take them down to their knees if we absolutely have to. But we try to do it in a manner initially by putting a stranglehold on Karg where they cannot get oil out. And if China gets upset, gee, that's a win-win for the United States right there, because right now, China continues to, I mean, look at what they're doing. They're not a competitor. They're not an adversary. They're the enemy. billions of cyber attacks every day, theft of our intellectual property, continuing to build out militarized islands in the South China Sea to do what Iran is doing in the Strait of Hormuz in that part of the world.
Would we
The other thing that I worry about, go ahead,
let me
Jesse.
ask you, would we need the NATO navies to help with the blockade of that nature, or could we do that solo? I assume solo.
We could do it solo ourselves. We have the capability. You look at an Aegis-guided missile destroyer, and they are more than capable of going into that close area, being able to defend themselves, and being able to also project power much quicker with those Tomahawk missiles that they've just handily finished replenishing.
So this guy's a huge warmonger. I just want to let you guys know I'm fine with that. You want some of these people on your side. The main thing I wanted to focus on is he gets it. This is about China. China is our greatest. It's not just a competitor. They're the enemy. They're the true enemy. Iran are primitives. I don't mean the people. I mean the regime. Ass backwards, terrorist, just primitive. And we really could take them out. Boots on the ground, guns on the ground. We could take them out. It's China that Trump has always said is really his main focus. And that's what this whole thing was about. That's why he said we're going to take out, it's power plant day was Tuesday. We're going to take out your power plants. That was the threat. China goes to Iran and says, you back it down. And they back down. Because China's on the brink of economic collapse, always, because they're a communist regime. Here's a $5 super chat, Mark Schmidt. Morning, Doug. Morning. Do you think that Iran can even come close to a 2-week ceasefire? No, they can't. And Trump knows they can't. Remember, there are 31 or 32 different provinces in Iran. Each one is a separate little tribe. I just want you to picture that. You know, it's all split up. It's like their states, 31. All of them run by lunatic, suicidal. They're looking forward to the 12th Imam to come, radical, funding all of the terror around the world for 47 years, including killing thousands of Americans. Funding 9/11, funding Hamas, Hezbollah, just every nut job out there they think that they're powerful just because they got a weapon. Trump knows that you can't control those 31 provinces. That's why after the ceasefire was announced, their missiles were still raining in on Dubai. I believe it was UAE and Israel. They didn't get the message. They don't even know if they're talking to each other. Iran has no leader. So we could sit here and make this 15-point plan with one part of the regime, and another part of the regime can say, we don't do it, la, 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 la. Israel. They're weirdo cult members, and they're very independent. They don't have one leader. That's why it's like trying to herd cats. You're really negotiating with 31 mini countries. And that's a problem. It'd be like in different factions of amounts of radicalness among them as Islamic radicals. You'll know there's a difference. Don't think of them as one united whole. They're not. Think of it more like in America, our religion would be, say, Baptists and Catholics and then Pentecostals. You know, I was raised Pentecostal, and even within the Pentecostal movement, in the Pentecostal church, there's different levels of radicalness. Some Pentecostals will say, you do not speak in tongues unless you have an interpreter who stands up and says, thus saith the Lord, da, 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 and they do the interpretation. I believe it's false, but I'm just saying that is a normal form of Pentecostalism. Someone speaks in tongues, one guy interprets. Another form of Pentecostalism are just people that are very excited in worship. Jesus, Jesus, dancing in the spirit. in the Spirit may not even involve speaking in tongues. There's lots of Pentecostals that do not practice speaking in tongues. Go to one of their services on Sunday morning. It's just a very active Sunday morning. Other Pentecostals actually handle snakes. They pull out rattlesnakes during a worship service. And I'm not trying to paint the entire denomination with that. There's like probably only three people in their history that have picked up rattlesnakes and gone around on TV going, the Lord will protect me. But I'm saying, you notice there's different levels of radicalness, even in the Catholic Church, which they keep saying they're all united because they have the same homily and all that. Go to any Catholic. There's some Catholic church up there in Boston that allow Biden to take communion, though he's an abortionist, and Nancy Pelosi to take communion. And then you go to other areas that are very conservative Catholic church, like right here in Tennessee, they would not allow an abortionist to take communion. Different levels of radicalness. Some Catholics are pre-Vatican II, like Tolkien. He hated Vatican II in the 60s. Some are way giant rainbow hippies. Some are like Knights Templar, like ready to go take back, the Dome on the Rock. That's how Iran, that's exactly how the religious 31 different sectors in Iran that Trump's trying to negotiate and find the one unified leader that they're all going to follow and do a deal with them. That's why I don't believe you're going to get a true ceasefire. It's not a United States. You know what I mean? Okay. We're going to keep going. More news. In Exile. What do we got here? I got to straighten this out. I got to remove those black borders there. Trump warns Iran faces major consequences. Watch this.
Iran is doing a very poor job, dishonorable, some would say, of allowing oil to go through the Strait of Hormuz. That is not the agreement we have. With just 8 vessels reportedly passing through the strait in the first 48 hours of the ceasefire, a statement was released via state media from Iran's new supreme leader saying, quote, and certainly we are entering a new era with management of the Strait of Hormuz. We did not and do not seek war, but we will not give up our rightful rights in any way. And for this, we consider all the fronts of resistance as one.
That's what unites them. The fronts of resistance. This is Khomeini. We don't even know if their leader's in a coma. We haven't seen him on camera. Who wrote this? We don't even know.
The region is waiting to see the outcome of the talks in Pakistan as Iranian officials and U.S. officials appear to be discussing a different set of terms. Iraq's foreign minister spoke this week about the talks.
We discussed the upcoming negotiation process in Pakistan, and we support and encourage this process. And we hope that the negotiation process will achieve its goals, which are peace and security in the region.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you want peace now. You want peace now. You don't want peace when you're funding Hamas to go slaughter, 1,200 Israeli civilians. I know Iranian people want peace. Their leadership only wants peace because they just got their butt completely wiped out by our military. So then you want peace, 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 peace. Easy on the threats. We want harmony now. When a missile is taking out all of your terror equipment, your ability to build missiles, and now we're threatening, how about we take out your oil processing and shipping? Now they want peace. Of course you want peace. You're weak. Okay, look at this. I got a cool chapter. One commercial that I do a day is for Chapter. I love them so much. I really believe in them. They really help you guys out. The phone number is in the description. You're going to call 631-961-8696. It greatly benefits my channel, but I hear stories from you over and over. I hear directly from Chapter. They're like, Doug, your audience is one of the top people that we're able to help. And we're well on our way to saving my audience $10 million this year. That's my goal, is to save you, literally save you that much money. Let me do, here's the tab I wanted to share you. This is a tweet from one of you. I talked to Chapter today. Cameron was amazing and helped me with all my Medicare stuff. He spent 2 hours with me going over the best plans. Thank you, Doug, for telling me about them. And all I got to say is, this is why it's not, you're not going to call some Indian call center. Hello, my friend. This is Habib. My name is Brian. How can I help you? And then as soon as they find out that you don't want to buy something, they dump you. They go, goodbye, I'll see you, goodbye. Chapter has spent 2 hours. That's not an outrageous claim, by the way, that guy made. That's not even out of the ordinary. Chapter spends 2 hours with my audience going over complex Medicare stuff, just answering questions. And at the very end of the whole call, all that happens is Chapter tells you, oh, and by the way, we couldn't find a better plan. You're in the right plan. The call's free. They didn't make any money on you. I didn't make money on you. They have to do that to establish their reputation. They have a reputation of helping you. So, last mention right here. That's the phone number. Compare your Medicare plan. Call 631-961-8696. My buddies at Chapter are here to help you. Even if you just want to know, I just want peace of mind. Do I have the right Medicare plan? Chances are, by the way, you're in the wrong one. By the way, chances are the average amount that my audience saves is $1,500 a year. I want to put $1,500 in your pocket. You can send it to me in super chats. Oh, no, that would be illegal if I made that deal. Just kidding, YouTube. Bill Kristol. Boy, this guy's a cuckoo. Bill Kristol used to be the most rock-ribbed conservative. Remember he and Barnes? I forgot the guy's name. Barnes was one of my favorite Republicans. Love the show, Doug. God bless the USA. Love and prayers from Canada. Our Canadian people, we love you. I love patriots in any country. Pro-freedom, pro-free speech. You're probably under some totalitarian socialist regime in Canada, in Britain, in Mexico. And you're going, and in UK, in France. I hear from all of you. And you're going, Doug, we're with conservatives. We're with MAGA. It doesn't mean that you're selling out your country and that you want America to win at your expense. It means you hope that the same thing happens to your country. The totalitarian monsters that want to import Islamic radicals and make it part of your country's culture and then throw you in prison for free speech if you speak against them. You're MAGA, and I want you to succeed in your country. I want you to reform your country the same way that we're desperately trying to reform America, the world's last great hope. We're barely holding on here by a thread. That's not a fear statement. I'm not afraid. My confidence is in the American patriot. The only thing that's going to fix it is going to be us. I have a lot of confidence in us. There's a lot of calcified corruption that we're always waking up to a new amount of it every day. It's a disaster, but I don't believe it wins in the end. It can't win. It does not win. And that's not a hope statement. That's just a belief. We're stronger than that. Here's Bill Kristol, lunatic.
Well, he got outplayed and he didn't understand the situation going in. I think the Iranians have the upper hand, and I suspect Trump is going, the art of the deal in this case is going to be some form of slightly of a capitulation to Iran with some fig leaf for Trump, I guess.
He thinks Iran has the upper hand, Haley. Absolutely not. This is the art of the deal, President. And what does Bill Kristol want? What do the Democrats want? Do they want President Trump to take a page out of Biden's book? Biden's strategy was just to say don't. That didn't work. And does he want to take a page out of Obama's book to line the pockets of the Iranian regime, the largest state sponsor of terror, and to support these proxy groups, Hamas and Hezbollah? I don't think so. I'm going to trust President Trump all day, every day, and not these other clowns.
So that's the only difference that has come with Iran is that Trump is doing something that previous, I don't want to call them cowards. It's kind of an isolationist thing where they just go, they'll leave us alone. It'll be fine. Status quo is better than changing. That is a real strategy. Sometimes it works. So Biden said, just don't. Kamala Harris, they asked her the same thing. And you know what she said? Because she doesn't have an original thought in her head rolling around. She just repeated Biden. She said, just don't. She said the same thing as Biden. A guy in a coma, repeated by Kamala Harris, who doesn't have a brain in her head. Just don't. Well, Trump did something about it. And now what happens is people bet against him and go, you should have just left that corrupt, evil regime stay. We don't want to face, we don't want to put boots on the ground. We don't want to spend the money. We don't want to help anything. The best help we can do is just stay out and let that thing in isolation collapse. And I just believe Trump saw an opportunity here to do something about it. It's kind of like when we do work for the poor in Dalton, Georgia, our church does. And no matter what you do in a house, you can replace a light switch. You can, replace a ceiling fan we would do. We found a little section, a hole in the floor. After we replaced a light switch, we found black mold. This is what it's like to be working against Iran, where you lift up a rock and you get involved, and suddenly it's like all these bees come flying out of a hole, or you replace a light switch and you're like, hey, there's black mold all in this wall. We have to now remove the sheetrock. So you started with just fix the light switch, and now you're got a hammer in there, a destruction crew, pulling out sheetrock, and you're going, wait a minute, it's not just this 1 foot by 1 foot section of the wall. The entire interior of this entire wall is covered in fuzzy black mold, which is poison. Oh, and the copper wiring, or the wiring, is like thread around it from like the 1940s. This is a fire hazard. Now we got to replace the wiring and the sheetrock. Oh, and the 2x4s that are holding up the wall are completely rotted out with termites, like literally not staying together. And pretty soon, and we did this, I saw it happen. We would replace an entire floor down to the struts of the house, the foundations of the house. This whole thing was caving in because a piano was in the middle of the room and it was sinking into the floor, 8 inches down from the weight. So once you start working on Iran, everyone else just goes, you know what? And there were some people on our work crew that said the same thing in Dalton, Georgia. They go, you know what? Just replace the light switch. We're not getting into the black mold. We just came here to do a light switch. I'm not replacing the floors of this entire house. The whole thing is like covered in termites. I get it. That's what the isolationist is saying, is just leave the rotted house in place, replace the light switch, and let's go. And I think Trump is the first one to come in and see this house and go, this whole house needs to be demoed and rebuilt to that Iran problem. And I think it's a bigger risk because it's just easier to go, look, I didn't want to do all the black mold work. That's a lot of work. It's too expensive.
NATO, the Secretary General and the President had a long meeting yesterday. They didn't speak afterwards at the White House. The NATO Secretary went on CNN and said, humana, humana, humana. Kevin, is this leading to a fundamental change? The Wall Street Journal says maybe some American forces will be taken out of non-cooperating NATO countries. Is this leading more definitively than we've already seen in Donald Trump's reconsideration of the NATO relationship?
Are we gonna stay in NATO? Head of NATO loves Trump. We met with him. Trump did.
Watershed for this, or just more of the same?
I think it's more of the same. I do think one of the outcomes may be that they prioritize troop placements and base placements based on more supportive NATO countries in the estimation of the administration. Whenever you have a guy, a politician from the Netherlands, a Dutchman saying the conversations were frank, then you can imagine that they were actually probably pretty explosive.
That's a racist statement against the Dutch. He goes, if a Dutchman says the conversations were frank, they mean they were brutal. My last name is Ten Apel. Extremely Dutch. We're known as being stubborn, flathead, giant, explosive. Yes. The Dutch.
Behind the scenes. But again, Mark Rutte, the Secretary General, is the best man in this position to navigate both the European situation and the president. And I think cooler heads will prevail. You might see some troop replacement and stuff like that, but no fundamental, obviously we can't pull out of NATO. No president can do that, but no fundamental changes, I think, with NATO.
No president can pull out of NATO? Okay. So no fundamental change there. That's the conclusion of that one. That's all I'm saying. Little cleanup here on, I did a lot of work on Marjorie Taylor Greene and kind of Trump calling out all the grifters. You guys keep saying in the chat, why are you showing Marjorie Taylor Greene? Because the messaging is significant for MAGA. If we lose 5 to 10% of MAGA, we can't win elections. So I'm trying to gather up as many of Marjorie Taylor Greene's psychotic fans and Candace Owens' psychotic fans and Tucker Carlson's psychotic fans and Alex Jones's psychotic fans. I want as many reasonable people out of that audience to come back into MAGA. I'm trying to get them back by making arguments that Marjorie Taylor Greene changed more than Trump. She claims Trump changed. Alex Jones claimed Trump change. And I'm going to make a case that they changed more than Trump, so you should abandon them and come to Trump. That's all. Here's the fallout on Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Oh, I think that if she's mad that President Trump said this line as a negotiating tactic, then she should be outraged that the Iranian regime has been promising death to all of America and all of Israel for the last 47 years straight. Marjorie Taylor Greene does not care about the Iranian people or the Iranian civilization. All she cares is trying to be bitter and undermine President Trump because a Trump-endorsed candidate just won the seat that she abandoned after she quit Congress with a year left on her term, leaving the GOP high and dry where we might lose our majority. So she's just bitter. Outside of Congress is where she should stay. And now she wants a police speech of the president. Full-fledged liberal transition complete.
Yeah, they would say the president was serious. In Iran, they were just kidding. 47.
Yeah, it's TDS. Jilted lover. He stopped returning her calls and she went nuts on him. And now suddenly she thinks she controls the MAGA movement. She and Thomas Massie, Alex Jones. And they keep repeating that stupid line that Democrats keep saying. That when Trump said he would end civilization, that's just genocide. We're against that. That's just genocide. That's all they can repeat over and over again. Even though Trump didn't end the civilization, he thought it was a good negotiating tactic. And they never quote that at the end of that same paragraph where Trump said, a civilization ending event or whatever. At the very end of it, he goes, peace to the Iranian people. Why would he say that he's going to wipe out the Iranian people in a civilizational ending event, then say the great Iranian people? It's obvious the civilization that he meant he was going to end is that Iranian, a radical Muslim death cult that took over the country from the Shah when Carter deposed him. Took it over from their rightful leader, and then these radicals, insane people came in and took over Persia and turned it into a Muslim radical insane asylum. That's the thing that I decided I don't get why Marjorie Taylor Greene and Tucker Carlson. Speaking of Tucker, I got a Tucker Carlson for you guys too, because this one proves that it's Tucker Carlson that changed, not Trump. This is an article by Tucker Carlson in January 28th of 2016, when he first announced he was on the run. He was running. The election was 2016. This is by Tucker Carlson. Donald Trump is shocking, vulgar, and right. And my dear fellow Republicans, he's all your fault. This is how Tucker used to talk. Tucker Carlson is editor-in-chief of the Daily Caller, where this piece was originally written. $10 super chat. When Marjorie Taylor Greene or Tucker break ranks, I stop even looking at their material. True. They have to stop throwing our own side under the bus. I will join with lots of different views to stop the communist left. Well, they're on board with the communists. They're voting with Ro Khanna, supporting Ro Khanna's agenda. Funded, Thomas Massie is funded 90% by Manhattan Democrats and the IRGC. Socialist, the same ones that are funding Mamdani. So they want peace and unity. I'm not unifying with Democrat lunatics. I'm not unifying with Marjorie Taylor Greene lunatic or Alex Jones lunatic. Here's Tucker back in the day, about 15 years ago. I said something nasty on CNN about Donald Trump's hair. I can't remember the context, assuming there was one. In any case, Trump saw it and left a message for me the next day. This is what he said. It's true, you have better hair than I do, Trump said matter-of-factly, quote, but I get more wussy with a P than you do. Click, and he hung up. At the time, I'd never met Trump, and I remember feeling amused, but also surprised he say something like that. Now the pattern seems entirely familiar. The message had all the hallmarks of a Trump attack: shocking, vulgar, and indisputably true. Not everyone finds it funny. On my street in Northwest Washington, D.C., there's never been anyone as unpopular as Donald Trump. The Democrats assume he's a bigot, pandering to the morons out there in the great dark space between Georgetown and Brentwood. The Republicans, those relatively few who live here in D.C., fully agree with that assessment, and they hate him even more. The Beltway Republicans he's talking about. That's just the lay of the land. By the way, that's also why, in D.C., there is no Republican influence in D.C. in their courts. That's why Pam Bondi can't get any traction there. And Todd Blanche will do no better on any crime committed in D.C. No Democrat will get arrested in D.C. unless he's incredibly world's greatest luck to not only draw the right judge, but draw a 12-person, a grand jury. No one's that lucky. Can't do it. It's not Pam Bondi's fault. People still trying to rip on Pam Bondi. Sorry, guys. You don't know the lay of the land. Here's what he says about Trump. He exists because you failed. American presidents' elections usually amount to a series of overcorrections. Clinton begat Bush, who produced Obama, whose lax border policies fueled the rise of Trump. In the case of Trump, though, the GOP shares the blame. And not just because his fellow Republicans misdirected their ad buys or waited so long to criticize him. That is, they were funding other candidates than Trump, trying to get Ted Cruz or Marco Rubio, or worse, Jeb Bush. They wasted all their money on Jeb Bush. Trump is in part a reaction to the intellectual corruption of the Republican Party. Trump is not Trump's fault. It's the Republicans' fault that you get a Trump, because the Republicans did not listen to the people and Trump represented us. That ought to be obvious to his critics, yet somehow it isn't. If only Tucker Carlson could say that now. It ought to be obvious to his critics. Here's the next point on Trump that Tucker says. Truth is not only a defense, it's thrilling. When's the last time you stopped yourself from saying something you believe to be true for fear of being punished or criticized for saying it? Well, the last time I did, it's when I said Pam Bondi was great. By the way, I didn't stop myself from saying it. I just knew I'd get punished or criticized for saying it. And you go, well, here we go. I got to tell the truth. If you live in America, it probably hasn't been long since you've been persecuted for telling the truth. That's not just a talking point about political correctness. It's a central problem with our national conversation. The main reason our debates are so stilted and useless. You can't fix a problem if you don't have words to describe it, and you can't even think about it clearly. Next point. Why Trump won. Washington reality. Washington really is corrupt, Tucker said. Everyone beats up on Washington, but most of the people I know who live here love it. Of course they do. It's beautiful. The people are friendly. We've got good restaurants, not to mention full employment and construction cranes on virtually every corner. If you work, this is before it all became a hellhole of crime because they stopped prosecuting it. And finally, this is my favorite one. Back in January of 2016, Tucker predicted he could win. This was just unthinkable. That a foul, vulgar, out of anti-Washington, D.C. guy like Trump, we didn't even have the imagination to think he could win, myself included. This is Tucker Carlson. Actually, and this is no endorsement of Trump. He would never endorse Trump. This is just an introduction of reality. That's a crock. Of the Republicans now running, Trump likely has the best chance to beat Hillary Clinton. For two reasons. First, he's the only Republican who can meaningfully expand the pie. This goes back to my criticism of Marjorie Taylor Greene, Candace Owens, anyone, Thomas Massey. If you're against the Iranian war or the battle in Iran, and you're going to go against Trump, you're going to lose because he's the only one who can meaningfully expand the pie. So it's bad strategy. Alex Jones says we're going to move on from Trump and we're just going to fight the Democrats. With what? You have less weapons than Iran. Alex Jones, you're not going to win anything. Is Alex Jones and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massey capable of expanding the pie in the way that Donald Trump expanded the pie? No way. We don't even know if J.D. Vance has the ability to expand that pie. And on pie expansion, this is a little off topic and strange, but I just want you guys to know that Nancy Mace is joining Thomas Massey and Marjorie Taylor Greene on demanding the Epstein files, which I think is a huge distraction, but I like hearing her out. I think it's very bad strategy. I think she's wrong about almost everything, but I mean, not her other policies. Her other policies are great. I think she's very wrong on Epstein, but she is going to lay out the strategy and you can tell me what you think of it on Piers Morgan.
But you would be shocked, Piers, that some of the names that I have seen that came across the DOJ in emails that the DOJ is protecting. And we're talking about people on both sides of the aisle. We're talking about famous people, rich people, people in power, prime ministers, former presidents, etc., media personalities that are.
Okay, hold on, guys. Her first claim is this is already false. Okay, in my audience, she claims you would be shocked if you saw the names on that list. Media personalities, politicians. Would you be shocked? Would you be shocked? I wouldn't be shocked. I would not be shocked. It's the same way that they say with the UFOs. They go, you would be terrified if you saw this. I go, I don't think so. Show me a bubble-headed alien on video. I would not be terrified and shocked. They keep thinking that we're a bunch of unga-bunga paranoids watching, some cargo plane going overhead for the first time. What is it? Oh, blah, 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 blah. That's not what we do. That's what she's saying. You'd be shocked if you saw the names on this list of powerful people. What if it's Tom Hanks? Would you be shocked? No. No. What if Lady Di or Mother Teresa was on there? Would you be shocked? No. The Pope? Nope. Nope. I would not be shocked. Franklin Graham? Nope. Still wouldn't be shocked. I'd be heartbroken, but I wouldn't be shocked at the names on there. I'm sorry, there's not a name in the world you could say is on that Epstein list. And Nancy Mace claims to have seen the list. So Nancy Mace, time to grow a pair and speak their names. She keeps saying, I'm going to name them. Thomas Massie said, I'm going to read the names on the Congress floor. They never do it. They never do it. Why? Now they accuse Trump and MAGA and Republicans of not saying the names because we want to protect the perpetrators. So I'm only going to accuse her of the same thing. If you don't name a name right now by the end of this interview, and you just now said that you've read the list and you know that all these people are on it, heads of state, powerful people, rich people, actors, and if you don't name a name by the end of this segment, you are only doing it to cover up the perpetrators. That's what you claim about MAGA, Trump, and everyone that wants to move on from this thing. Is that fair? Sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander. What is modus ponens for one man is modus tollens for another, we say.
Named in these files. And that's why I say this is going to go down as the greatest cover-up, one of the greatest cover-ups in American history. And I don't believe the girls are actually going to see justice, which is why it's going to be incumbent upon people like Democrat Ro Khanna, Republican Thomas Massie. I'm a Republican myself who's willing to name some of those names in our committee work, on the floor of the House, whatever it.
Name it on the floor of the House. Name it now. If you really care about protecting victims and calling out guys, say it now. And to hell with the law. Why do you have so many manners now, Nancy Mace? What are you afraid of? I thought this was about saving kids' lives and the victims. If you really cared about victims, you'd say every name you could to help them, but you won't. You're compromised is what I'm proposing. You don't care about victims. So don't say Trump doesn't care about victims. Don't say MAGA doesn't care about victims. You're in bed right now with Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna should tell you everything. You should look in the mirror and say, I'm an idiot. Anytime you're in bed with Ro Khanna, who beat the stock market in 2025 by 115%, outperformed Warren Buffett, who I think got 9% that year. Outperformed him 10 times on the stock market from insider trading. You're in bed with that guy. Okay, yeah, he's a straight shooter, I'm sure.
It takes, because this kind of thing cannot continue to go on. I want to give the next girl hope that when she comes forward, she won't be shamed. Her life won't be smeared in the Daily Mail or whatever the next press, is going to do. What they do to female victims and to children is disgusting because they're protecting their rich and powerful friends. But you'd be surprised.
Why are you protecting your rich and powerful friends? Just say the names. And by the way, every one of these girls could say the names. It's like, they're not going to say the names. Yeah, that's a mystery. Never heard of a victim. You know what, if someone shot me on the street, let's say, and they said, Doug, who did it, I'd go, oh, it's that guy. This is his name. This is when he did it. Here's the video. I'd go, yeah, get that guy. I would not go, I signed a non-disclosure agreement where he was a multi-billionaire and I took all of his money, so I'm not going to release his name, even though he has promised, say, to shoot 50 other people. Their blood would be on me for not saying his name. The victims can say their names anytime. Nancy Mace, who claims she knows them, you say the names. It's always someone else's problem with these people. It's always that guy. Get that guy. I didn't do anything. That guy, Thomas Massey, that guy is protecting their names. No, you release the names. I don't believe you. I don't believe you care. I don't believe you care. Let's get some Supreme Court juice going, guys. This is going to be fun. Contempt of court. Justice Sotomayor suggests Justice Kavanaugh is an uninformed elitist. Now, our court has never, they do not criticize each other in this way. In fact, I used to love that Justice Antonin Scalia, his favorite date to go out with was Ruth Bader Ginsburg. He and her would giggle. They'd go out for lunch. They loved each other. I always just admired that about the great Antonin Scalia. They were able to put the law aside and they really enjoyed each other's company. They'd go out to the opera. They'd go out to lunch. Not very small and almost the dumbest person on the Supreme Court. She was beaten as the dumbest by Ketanji Brown Jackson, but Sotomayor used to be the dumbest. She's the second dumbest now. Maybe that has something to do with it. Clank, clank, clank. I'm a tank $5 super chat. Corey Feldman still refuses to name the people in Hollywood that abused him. That's true. Trump needs to drop a full pardon to the first person to leak the list. I think Trump should have leaked the list on day one. His whole administration could have put the entire unredacted files out and just leaked it. And it probably would have, and it would have been done with by now. But he actually believes in protecting names of people that did no crime. And those documents are full of people that did no crime, that those girls testified against and said. I mean, one of them said Trump was, hit her and was R-ing her, abusing her while, what's his name? Horowitz. What's his name? The legal scholar guy was holding her down. All these famous names, and some of these women, not all of them, a couple of them. One of them who killed herself was just a lunatic, and a lot of their testimony was thrown out of court. So why would Trump release all that? Put it out there. It doesn't make sense. Justice Brett Kavanaugh is accused to unrelenting personal attacks. This is an article, by the way, by Jonathan Turley, the great Fox News host, commentator who knows a lot about the Supreme Court, is accused of unrelenting personal attacks from the left that began with his nomination to the court. And remember, he was the one who had his life threatened by a trans lunatic that came to his house with duct tape and ready to murder him. And that person got a hand slap. This week, however, the ad hominem insults came not from cable programs, but a colleague. Justice Sonia Sotomayor used an appearance at the University of Kansas School of Law to level a personal dig at Kavanaugh as an out-of-touch elitist. By the way, Sotomayor, who wrote a multi-million-dollar book, who's invited to all of the top money dinners in Washington, D.C., celebrated by, Clooney, etc. None of these people would be seen with Brett Kavanaugh. They wouldn't be caught dead with Brett Kavanaugh. And she calls him an out-of-touch elitist. I have long criticized the growing number of public statements by justices on controversial subjects and cases, including Justice Sotomayor. Oh my goodness, sneeze. Excuse me. Heaven forbid I use this mic, the cough button on the mic. And now And now, wow, you guys get that sneezer's high. I love it. The sneezer's high. It's woo, woo-hoo-hoo. And then if you almost sneeze and then you don't, you're like, you're like, it's all itchy. And then you don't get one. You're like, I missed out on the sneezer's high. Bless you, bless you. Thank you to my chat. Bless you guys. I hear you. Kindness. I hear your kindness. However, this appearance represents a new low in lashing out at a colleague as effectively blinded by his own privilege. This is Sotomayor's comments. Her concurrence in Noam versus Vasquez Perdomo. I had a colleague in that case who wrote, these are only temporary stops. This is from a man whose parents were professionals and probably doesn't really know any person who works by the hour. That's what Sotomayor, she's talking about Kavanaugh. Those hours that they took you away, nobody's paying that person. And that makes a difference between a meal for him and his kids that night and maybe just cold supper. She's all, Kavanaugh, he's too poor to know. You know who was the poorest member of the entire Supreme Court? You guys can guess it. Let me know in the chat. Pick your judge. Which justice came from the lowest of low dirt on the entire court? Hint, it's the one they hate the most. It's the one Sotomayor and yeah, that's right. Clarence Thomas, my people. Read his book, My Grandfather's Son. Daddy didn't raise him. As a kid, he had to go into the oyster fields to work. Just dirt. No one came from deeper dirt than Clarence Thomas. So the idea that Kavanaugh's judicial theory is somehow tainted because he didn't come from a low enough class of life. The reverse would be true then of Clarence Thomas, a black man who faced abject racism, especially by Joe Biden, but just his whole life growing up. Even blacks, he said, would reject him because he was so black. They said he's the black guy that's so black that even less black people look at him and go, man, you're black. Insane racism. This is, I'm going to do some Adam Carolla here. They bleep out his cuss words, but I just want you to hear this story. This is a really big picture story on why do Democrats cuss and scream and go nuts and how it's an effective strategy. I'm going to let him speak while I take a potty break. Listen to this, because this is pure wisdom, guys. This guy, he was a crass comedian on Loveline with Drew Pinker, I forgot his name, on Loveline, on K-Rock in LA. When I was working in video games, we would listen to him every day. Very crass. Then he met Dennis Prager. He and Dennis Prager became great friends. And Dennis Prager is his mentor. And he changed. He's brilliant now. And he's always ripping on Gavin Newsom and how ineffective he is at rebuilding the Palisades because he came from construction. He's a boxer and he would work a construction site. Adam Carolla, street smarts here.
Because what they do is they create chaos. And then at some point they go, look at all the chaos. And it's like, yeah, I know. That's because you're doing that. And then they go, don't you want the chaos to end? And so what the phenomenon that's kind of interesting with Trump is like, what if I just said as an example, you and your wife, and your wife said, I'd like to go to bed at night and leave the front door open. And you go, I don't want to do that because like raccoons would come into the house, a stray dog, and they go, no, that's what I want to do. And you go, no. And then you come downstairs in the morning, the trash is all torn through because a family of raccoon walked through your living room and so on and so forth. And then you say to your wife, can we just shut the front door? Can we just shut the front door? And she goes, no. And you go, I'm shutting the front door. And you shut the front door. And she's throwing a fit. every single night. And then at some point, your kids just go, just open the front door. I'm so tired of hearing her. I'm so tired of the arguing. And you go, but we shut the front door and we didn't get any raccoons. I know, but I don't want to hear this anymore. Just do it. And you go, fine, we'll do it. And so you go, oh, you open the front door. And now there's raccoons back in the house, but there's no more arguing. And at least your kids can go in the room and shut the door and go to bed, And so it's in a way, it's like being blackmailed, right?
Okay, I'm gonna stop this right here. That's Costin, what his name is. Now, is anyone gonna kick this guy for me? Breaking news: Trump dead. Just over and over again. Anytime someone posts 10 times in a row, it's a bot or an imbecile. This guy, bounce him, get out. Ban user and delete all their comments. There we go. You go bye-bye, liar. The reason why I brought up this, is I know it's not just about Democrats in protests going nuts, lunatics. Yeah, smash the like. This is a palate cleanser. Smash the like button. And of course, it's free to subscribe. 2,000 people watching. But this idea that Democrats, let's say they open the door and then the raccoons come in and ruin everything. And then they scream and argue about closing the door and the rest of the family just wants peace. It's not just about a Democrat plan to win in America by just screaming, burning Tesla dealerships, being just lunatics, feminist, LGBTQ, Black Lives Matter, all that. This actually applies to Iran, strangely enough. Remember when I said about the black mold and tearing up the house and stuff, there's people that just say, look, Iran being a terrorist organization, holding the rest of the world hostage with their oil and helping China and Russia, fueling all of our enemies. We have to accept a certain amount of raccoons running through the house, okay? And then Trump does something about it. He closes the front door. That's taking away Iran's bombs, terror regime, ability to make drones, bombs, sunk their whole navy. Trump did something about it. And the Democrats, Thomas Massie and the gang and all the isolationists and the anti-war people just go, look, we're going to accept a certain amount of chaos here. We're going to scream about it so much that you're just going to say, you know what, just put Iran back and let's just pull everything out and just leave. Just allow some raccoons in the house. Do you see? It's the same thing. Trump's biggest mistake anytime he was president is that he did something about something. He's a developer. I'm going to do something about it. I'm the only one that's going to do something about it. I'm the only one. He is. He's the only one that does something about it. And then they're going to scream and yang hang and cry because he doesn't want raccoons in the house.
You go, I don't want the front door. And I go, yeah, but don't you just want peace? Don't you just want some peace in your home? And you go, okay. And that's sort of what they do. They go out and they fight everything. It could be ICE. It could be a ballroom. It could be anything to do with the border. It could be any transgender. They just fight everything. And then at some point they go, aren't you tired of the chaos? Don't you just want some peace? Don't you want to just get back to normal? Don't you just want to get some middle of the road, somebody, just put our guy in there, open the front door, no more arguments, and we can get on with our
life. Don't you want some peace? This is every isolationist. This is Marjorie Taylor Greene. We don't need to get involved over there. The Pope, when he said we should be fighting for peace, this is what he means. Don't do anything. That's peace. Peace is not doing nothing. That's my premise. Yesterday, it's my premise again today. I'm going to keep making this point. Peace is not doing nothing. Concession to evil, and then evil will agree to leave you alone. If you just give in, Ronald Reagan said it yesterday in that quote that we did of him. The easiest way to get world peace right now is to surrender. That's Reagan. Don't you just want peace? These people's definition of peace is I just want my cable and my Big Mac and everyone leave me alone, okay? I didn't earn this. I'm not going to pay back into it for someone else.
Life. Wouldn't that be nice? And I'm like, it would be nice, but there's an alternative one, which is you shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? Like, just let ICE do their job. Let the border patrol do their job. How about you just sit back and let everyone do their job for 10 minutes? Let them add a ballroom onto the East Wing. How about that? Because that's the other alternative. I'm going to shut the front door. You shut the fuck up, and we'll get on with our lives with no raccoons. We could do that, but you won't let that happen.
Yeah. Why don't you shut up, instead of I shut up? Instead of us being quiet, why don't they be quiet? Because we don't throw a tantrum. We're not the one opening the door and letting the raccoons in. Great super chat from our buddy Jury Rigged. $100 super chat. He's a member. Carlo M. Capolas. The Basic Laws of Human Stupidity from 1976 categories people into 4 groups. Number 1, intelligent. Number 2, bandits. Number 3, helpless. And number 4, stupid. Which one is Trump? Intelligent? Is he a bandit? Is he helpless? Or is he stupid? Based on how their actions affect themselves and others. He's intelligent. He's not a bandit. He certainly isn't helpless, and he's not stupid. All of his opponents is what's amazing, Jury Rigged. His opponents, they're like helpless. They whine about him all day and just go, we can't do anything, and we demand that you don't do anything either. Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's out of office, is demanding Trump what? Obey her because she's out of office? Everything Trump does just kicks butt so hard. It's shocking. Here's I'm going to do we're getting incredible numbers now on the economy from last month. Even CNBC on manufacturing. This is all because of Trump.
If you look at last year, manufacturing productivity is at the highest it's been in years. Manufacturing wages went up by 5% for line workers. Overtime hours went up. And so in February 2026, we saw the manufacturing jobs number go positive for the first time since 2023. So you can see during 2025, there was huge demand signal for manufacturing labor that you saw in the overtime hours and the wages, et cetera. And now you're actually seeing it finally with the positive manufacturing jobs number in February 2026. So we are seeing it come through, and we expect we'll continue seeing that in the coming.
Promises made, promises kept. The manufacturing is up 37% in wages on line workers, and they're getting a ton of overtime. Another thing that he didn't remember to mention is that Trump removed taxes on all overtime. You're getting back more of your tax money than ever before. You may not feel it because things are expensive, but the numbers are showing that what he's doing, he promised that. And I go, how are you going to bring manufacturing back? Like, that's just, I'm going like, why can't we just do nothing? Let the manufacturing stay in China. Let them make our stuff. Trump goes, no, I want manufacturing back here for security purposes. How it's actually wise. It would be dumb to leave manufacturing over there. Everything on our futures is going up. It hasn't fully recovered yet, but it's on its way.
Core month over month, 0.2%. We were looking for 0.3%. So actually, the core month over month coming in just a little bit better than expected. And then core year over year also a little bit better than expected, 2.6%. We were looking for a gain of 2.7%. Core month over month.
Everything's better. We're keeping inflation down. Our profits are better. Gang, it's working. And they're trying to get you to think like we're in just a financial crisis. These numbers, Biden never touched these numbers. And the media gave him a full court press like defense. Here's Fetterman. Why can't we just support Trump in this war?
The 25th Amendment, impeachment, war crimes, are they serious about this stuff, or is that just politics?
Well, I mean, sure, there are some of them are serious about those things, but like Stephen Smith just pointed out, that it's not going anywhere because they certainly won't have the votes to do those kind of things. But like I said, why can't we just, root for our military? Why can't we just say, I don't have to agree everything the president has done or the kind of things that he says, but we should be on the side of America, and we should be on the side of civilization and the free world. And I'm on that side. And I don't know why I'm the only Democrat that says those kinds of things at this point.
Why is Fetterman the only Democrat on the side of civilization? Why is the only one on the side of hoping and praying our military succeeds? He's the only Democrat. In some cases, he's more right-wing than Republicans like Thomas Massie. Thomas Massie is hoping and praying this war goes wrong. The isolationists just want it to be a complete drawn-out fiasco. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Alex Jones, they want that hatred stacked up against Trump and the Jews. And Fetterman just goes, what's wrong with just, do you want the mission to succeed? Bill Kristol? These people, it's like they're praying for a loss. Now, I'm going to start here on, if you're just now joining us, we've been doing this for 1 hour and 20. This is going to keep going. I'm going to keep going, because I believe we're about to go back into Iran with the boom boom. $20 super chat, Jeff Swanson. I always think about how the hijackers told people to return to their seats and that they were going back to the airport. We know what happened. They didn't know what was happening. Did we learn? No, we're not going to learn. That one we're not going to ever learn. Just go back to your seats. Okay. Just don't hurt us. Yeah, we promise we'll go back to the airport. Then they crash the plane. Here's Eli David, more U.S. military aircraft en route to the Middle East. This is why we're watching the radar, and I believe we're on our way back in. So people are there checking the flight. This is flight radar 24. This is what's going over there, all of our good stuff. This is public data. Everyone can see it. Iran can see it too. We're sending massive more planes over there during a ceasefire. And Iran does not have an airport or a air defense, so they are not sending more planes. Iran is not sending more battleships over there. There's no Navy. Anything that China or Russia could send over there, we would see it from the sea to the air. And they're not sending anything. We have cut them off. Just if the war continues or the battle continues through attrition, we will win more and Iran will lose more. Just by the setup right now. We do have one problem, though, a very serious problem that Trump cannot get around. The War Powers Act of 1973. It says he can, in a quick emergency, he can go drop boom booms as long as he alerts Congress within, I think it was 48 hours, and he did. He alerted them. He's allowed to do boom boom, but it only lasts for 60 days. And then he has 30 days to get all of our equipment out of there, unless he can get Congress to agree to more. There's a trick, though. Trump's got a trick up his sleeve. And he is a genius. I'm going to tell you by the end of the show, but it's going to take a couple hours. So you just got to wait. Check in. Jury Rig, my pal. $100 super chat. Trump is the hardest working man in America. True. Work that is focused on helping all of us. Yeah, this guy's a workaholic, guys. up all night. By the way, JD Vance too. JD Vance, I did one video of him 24 hours ago, and it was nighttime when he went to whatever that other country was. And this morning, it's been 24 hours, and he's there doing the interview on his way to Pakistan. If I do one international flight, I am wiped out for a week. I'm a zombie with jet lag. And these guys look pretty chipper. Even though Trump, is just like round the clock, he's tweeting people at 2 o'clock in the morning. Thank you for that, jury rigged. On reminding us of Trump's work ethic. He will outwork, by the way, all the lazy Republicans, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Alex Jones, who's a slobbering drunk. I think I have some video of him coming up of him completely drunk this morning, having his morning, I don't know what he drinks. Timber chat. I'm gonna play this video. I'm gonna go close that door because I hear lawn guys outside.
So do you think that a ceasefire can last, or that a deal can be reached with the remaining Iran leaders in charge?
I think if they want to remain alive, that they should probably start negotiating. Hezbollah has been their muscle around the globe for terrorist activity. There's a lot of international players involved in this. People buying their oil, of course, are funding this terrorism. That apparatus, Trump can knock it out pretty quick, and they know it. And he's not fooling around. I don't think I would jerk this president around too much. He's not like other leaders we've had who put a mark in the sand and people just run over the top of it. He's not going to play that game, and frankly, America isn't either.
That's another reason why I believe we're going back in. Trump's not messing around. This is not Barack Obama with a fake red line. You know what I mean? That's another reason. Is they're jerking us around, and they're about to find out. $10 super chat from Sean Helmick. Thank you for Earthworm Jim. You're welcome. It was easy to make Earthworm Jim. It was fun to make Earthworm Jim. And by the way, talk about a workaholic on Trump. I outworked everybody. We did 18-hour days regularly and did not take weekends off. Every day of the week, we did 18-hour days to make Earthworm Jim within the year slot that we did. We had cots in the video game company. We slept on the floor, in the cots. 18-hour days. I was an insane workaholic. Beloved Miss Tenaple and I, within about 7 years of me working in the video game industry, the first 7 years of our marriage, we were in marital therapy because I was so bad at taking care of her and just spending leisure time together. I was insane. 18-hour work days was the regular. In fact, we used to have a joke. If you don't bother coming in on Saturday, don't bother coming in on Sunday to work. That was our saying. Now, that's when I was 27 years old. I could never do that now. Ain't no way. Anyways, Tim Burchett, that's another one in the tick mark of, I believe, a vote that we're going back in. Caroline Levitt calls out Sean Ryan. This is another right-wing influencer. I just wanted to get into this because this is kind of a theme of the last couple of days of the president going back to messaging. This was on a rumor that the Pope, it says, Trump goon gives Vatican a bitter lecture and growing rift. This is from the Daily Beast. This is going to be called out as 100% fake news. We're going to hear from the Pope and everybody else from the Vatican. Caroline Levitt's going to clear this up. And Sean Ryan, who's a huge podcaster. I like some of his stuff. I'm not a huge fan, but I like him enough. And he's here in Nashville, Tennessee. He should have me on his show. But I think he's wrong here. He says the Pentagon summoned the Pope's ambassador, told him the United States has the military power to do, quote, whatever it wants, unquote, and warned that the church had better take its side. That's the claim in the article. Sean, how are you dumb enough to fall for this? I'm sorry. I don't mean to call you a dummy. That's not right. They even invoked the Avignon papacy. a dark chapter in history when a government used military force to bend the church to its will. So where exactly does this end? If the Pope refuses to fall in line, what's the next move? Bomb the Vatican? Sean, Ryan, come on. Come on. Carolyn Levitt. This tweet cites a Daily Beast rewrite of another article filled with anonymous sources who clearly lied, because the story has now been totally rebuked by both the Pentagon and by Cardinal Christophe Pierre. So by all the authorities that were involved, they debunked the story, and Sean Ryan ran with fake news. This is 100% garbage fake news. The reporters who wrote it should immediately retract their stories, and the influencers who fell for it should delete their tweets. She's putting pressure on Sean Ryan. Hey, delete your tweets. Brendan Dilley. Sean Ryan is a total fraud and liar. I'm not surprised he's getting wrecked by press secretary on Friday morning. Those are strong words. I don't know enough. I've watched some Sean Ryan, but I only know that he's very popular. And to me, anyone that has a really big footprint, when Caroline Levitt says something like that, I like allowing Sean's words, to the original words that he said, to stay, and then I like allowing her rebuke to stay. So, and then you guys can decide, of course. My audience is smart. There's 2,100 of you watching. Give us a thumbs up, leave a comment. It helps spread this show out as we vacuum up truth seekers in the audience. Here's Brett Baer.
Well, is the Strait of Hormuz open as Iran contends, or isn't it? Joining us tonight, Hoover Institution Senior Fellow Historian Victor Davis Hanson.
Some of you may not know, but Victor Davis Hanson is one of my big heroes, one of my big sources. I've been following him for 25 years. I was introduced to him by Hugh Hewitt. I've taken classes from him at Hillsdale Online on World War II, world's greatest historian. He wrote the foreword to the graphic novel comic book, The 300, which became a movie. 300, one of my favorite movies. He wrote the foreword to the comic book because he's a war historian. He's incredible. Just probably the smartest man alive. So he's a big influence on me.
Thanks for being here. First of all, 30,000 feet. How do you see this right now? What has happened with the ceasefire and what we're seeing out of Iran and the back and forth with the U.S.?
Well, they have a history they can't be trusted, that's for sure. But all the options are on our side if we choose to operate. And we've done about $500 billion in damage over a 47-year investment that they've lost. They've got a restive population. They're going to have to explain to the population when this is over that we're going to spend billions of dollars to rearm at your expense, and you're not going to have affordable food and gas. And we're also going to subsidize Arab terrorists like Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthi. That's going to be very difficult to do. And then if we want to go, we can go. If Donald Trump thinks he has domestic pressures, he can go back. He can go. The second option, Brett, is he can join the European Armada, such as it is. He can provide them air cover and force open the Strait of Hormuz. And the third, of course, is he can say the negotiations are stalled and here's another deadline, and this time just keep it. And he could take out Karg Island. I think the Chinese would be very angry about that.
Yay.
Or he could take out the dual use. I will say, Brett, there's been a little confusion about this infrastructure, not just World War II or Korea, but Vietnam, and as well, the first Gulf War, we hit power plants, we hit communications, we hit transportation, we hit water plants. We did it in Serbia. We destroyed every bridge on the Danube River. We knocked out the power grid of Belgrade.
And that's what Mark Kelly says was a war crime that Trump did. Mark Kelly, remember, he ran some of those sorties and bombed their infrastructure. Mark Kelly himself. Said if Trump followed through with it, it would be a war crime.
1.5 million people. Even the misadventure, 7 months in Libya, they said that they weren't going to do that, but they hit civilian ships, port facilities, television stations. So that was kind of a red herring. That's a legitimate target according to our past policies. We could always do that.
So what changed? Why is it? There's only one thing that changed. Not the policy. The policy, we've been bombing communications, television station networks. What changed? Yep. There it is. Joe Hill, TDS. Trump came in and suddenly all of the rules magically change because they just want to get the guy. They're looking at the guy. They don't care about principle. We've demonstrated it, of course, over and over again. These people do not care about principle. Scott Jennings on CNN is next. Let's do this. This is we're about a third of the way through the show here, guys. This is going to be a long one. I'm doing hours and hours on this one. By the way, the beloved Miss Tenaple, for those of you who know my family, the beloved Miss Tenaple is the greatest source of my life. She flew out today to visit her sister out in California. So I am heartbroken and alone for the weekend. So you people and I are going to spend a lot of time together, especially today. A lot. I'm trying to see how long of a show and how many shows I can do. Long episodes. If you want shorter episodes, by the way, I'm launching a new product. I'm taking one of my old channels. It's called Best of Doug in Exile is the new channel. It's not a new channel. It's an old channel I'm repurposing. All I'm doing is we're taking these clips of these long form ones and breaking them back down into small 3-minute episodes. So if you want little 3-minute news bites, it's going to be Best of Doug in Exile. I'm not bringing it up yet because we're just doing a soft launch yesterday, and then we'll start doing more regular daily content. I know that not everyone wants to wait. You know, this is an hour and 30-minute show right now. They're going like, I just want the thumbnail and the news clip. There's going to be another channel that's going to honor what originally where I got my start, which is doing 2- and 3-minute news clips. So I'm going to keep doing this long form. This is for the super fans, the people that just want to live together. This is like we're all in the same living room on the couch and just kind of clicking through the news. And I come up with how you share with your kids on the phone. I found this meme. Look at this. And you send it to each other. That's more what that other channel is. This one is the big, we're all sitting together all day. This is unedited. I'm doing it live. I don't have a script. We're just watching the news together, guys, and I'm bringing you the truth. Here we go. Let's get some Scott Jennings.
Inflation that occurred under Biden was in part naturally occurring due to supply chain bottlenecks and because the COVID once-in-a-lifetime pandemic occurred. And yes, it occurred.
Like we're on trees? Or?
Yeah, okay. So, because of supply chain bottlenecks, that's what I'm talking about. There was
of the president's tariffs policy.
I know all of human history started in January of this year, but I could take you back 4 years when input prices for agriculture, from fuel to materials to you name it, went through the roof. I know you know a little something about it because you worked under Joe Biden when it all happened. So these farmers, they're in a 10-month period here with Trump, but they just came out of a 4-month period where they were dying under the inflationary and affordability crisis caused by Democrats.
Yeah, and she didn't mention it. The inflation was so much worse under Biden. And look at this sourpuss on the right. She, by the way, is one of the ladies that they've accused of being one of the auto pen women, the women who handled the auto pen. But watch her sourpuss face of this thing. Scott Jennings laying fact bombs on her. Inflation was worse under Biden. Farmers were suffering under Biden. And this administration did not care.
They support this president. They like what he did today, and they're going to give him a little latitude to get out of it.
I don't think that's accurate when you hear from farm bureaus.
You don't think it's accurate that inflation happened under Biden?
I'm sorry, Donald Trump talked about.
Overall, if you look at the Fed survey, people are happy and excited about the job market and the labor market in the United States. That's a good thing. And if you talk to Scott Bessent, he'll tell you that they think in 2026, we're going to see a boom in jobs and growth in this country, thanks to some of the structural changes they made this year. So they're expressing optimism and exuding optimism. And That's what they got to do going into an election.
That structural changes because of Trump. And that's why I wanted to play those previous clips earlier on manufacturing. Wages going up 37%, lots of overtime for them, lots of work. That's one narrative. I have an interactive poll to share with you guys. Come on in. If you're new to the show, come on in. Give us a thumbs up. Join the community. Nicest community on YouTube. By the way, most intelligent, I should say wise community also. We have a ton of seniors, the oldest school Republicans and military people and business owners and housewives and grandmas and grandpas. And this is a community of people who've been through the ringer, seen many, many presidents. So I'm not like some 17-year-old or 21-year-old doing a channel where I'm new to the scene. We're old enough, we've seen a lot. And you can start to triangulate and say, wait, if this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. So join us. Here is, I got to redo the chart here. RMG research on Trump approval. Now, everyone's saying Trump's approval's in the dirt. I don't think it's quite in the dirt. It's down, but I don't think it's house is on fire down. Trump's approval is up 5% at 45%. Trump's disapproval, this is the big number, is at 54%, but it's down by 4%. His disapproval was 58%. It's now down to 54%. Napolitan News, and then we're going to get a better look at this. I just want to go over these numbers for you, and you can tell me if this is significant or not. Are you afraid yet? This is the poll they just said. This is April 2nd through 9th. This is the last week. Just this last week, the net amount of numbers that Trump lost is -9. He went down 9 points. That is, they calculate between the approval and disapproval. His approval's at 45, his disapproves at 54. First of all, I think this 54, a whole lot of it has to do with Trump only gets negative press. He only gets negative press and now joined by hysterical Marjorie Taylor Greene, Sean Ryan, Tucker Carlson, these big non-traditional media figures that are all, because many of them are paid by Islamic radicals and the Democrat Party, in the case of Thomas Massie, 90% funded by Manhattan Democrats. And they put their word out to their followers. We don't like what Trump's doing. I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene and Alex Jones said it about as clear as they can say it. He's not America first anymore. He's not MAGA. We're not MAGA anymore. We're pulling out. We want him removed. And they have influence. It might only be 5%, but the 5%, I mean, guys, if you're in Candace Owens's audience, you might be a lunatic, but you're loyal. You're not going anywhere. If you're still in Candace Owens's audience, you're not going anywhere. If you're still a flat earther, after we went to the moon and took pictures on the dark side of the moon and took a picture of the back of the moon, it's a sphere, and then there's the earth in the background, and it's a sphere. If you're still a flat earther, I could probably send you to the moon yourself. And you'd look around and go, this is probably a simulation. Oh, but the government and the Jews are putting this projection in front of me. I don't believe it. So anyways, I just want to show the difference between, this is April, this is the last week, and then go to the week before that, which is March 25th to April 2nd. Trump was at 40% approval. So in a week after he was doing the boom boom on Iran, he has a 45%. He went up 5%. What happened? And he went from 58% down to 54%. Well, he's recovering from this number down 18% here when he first, when it all went down on him. He lost 18 points. So very bad is all. And I just think, you go back and look at Reagan's approval. When he had to cut entitlement spending, he had the lowest rating, and then the economy blew up to the biggest it ever could be. So I'm just saying, but it is true. Trump is at 45%. I think it's still navigable, but he has to get out of this Iran thing by the midterms unless we win. And yes, I believe we're going back in. I'll continue to tell you why it's coming up at the end of the show here that we're not going to give up. I don't believe. Here's Hugh Hewitt. He's quoting Kim Strassel at the Wall Street Journal, who I really enjoy her. Quote, support for this war has somewhat followed party lines. But there's one thing almost all Americans hate. It's losing. Boom. That's Patton. Patton said, Americans love to win. We will not tolerate a loser. I don't want to hear about holding the line. Americans hate losing or seeming to lose a war. In the case of Vietnam, we could have won that thing. We seem to lose it. An unambiguous victory against Iran would at the last neutralize the issue, allowing the administration to return to the case for its domestic achievements. So Trump, that's saying that there's pressure on Trump to get very far away from this Iran news item by the elections and by 2028. I think 2026 is the only one that counts, because if he loses the House and the Senate, which again, numbers say that he will, but I don't believe in absolutely predicting the future. You never know. He has to put this war behind him so he can return to the case for his domestic achievements, that it would include the economy and lowering crime. A clear victory might even be a political boost if Trump can just smear them hard enough. And the problem is Iran has 31 provinces that are not in the same place. It's like, it's spaghetti. Allowing the GOP to draw a stark contrast with weak democratic foreign policy. A messy defeat, which would happen if we pulled out the way Biden did, if we had a much higher body count like we did in Afghanistan under Bush. A messy defeat, as this ceasefire is being aptly defined, will be one more grievance for American voters to add to their frustrations with the current party in power, Republicans. It's in Mr. Trump's hands. Now, this is a theory by the more warmongery neocons at the Wall Street Journal, but it is a legit theory. But don't let this be lost on you, what Kim Strassel is predicting here. She says if this ceasefire doesn't work and it's a messy defeat, it would be bad for the party in power, the Republicans. A messy defeat where he just abandons it. Well, the problem is the opposite is being said by Marjorie Taylor Greene and Alex Jones, that say this war is unpopular and Trump is losing support. It's not just those lunatics, but it's also mainstream people. Mainstream people have a similar theory that we're losing support because even if we're winning, if we continue to stay in and dominate in Iran, they say that his unpopularity rises. And now they say if he gets out, his unpopularity rises. Are you seeing the common ground here yet? What we're up against? We're going to get to more. First, more from CNN News. This is great commentary here. Or I should say, interesting commentary.
I'm not going to respond to that. I'm going to respond to Secretary Kerry. He's right that the Israelis did approach American administration subsequently, one after the other, and said,
Okay. This guy's talking about John Kerry, just revealed information that Israel went to previous administrations and said, go after Iran. Israel went to Bush and said, go after Iran. Netanyahu did. Or their military leaders. He said no. Then they went to Obama and said, go after Iran. And he said no. And then they went to Biden and said, go after Iran. And he said no. And they went to Trump and said, go after Iran. And he said, oh, yeah, we're going after Iran. Now, the left spun that, what John Kerry, who, by the way, if you've ever seen him, his face looks like an oak tree. It looks like they took a picture of an oak tree and put it in a suit. I'm John Kerry. I'm reporting for duty. Herman Munster. Lurch. His claim was that Trump caved to Israel, and that was a mistake. This guy's going to put a little more positive spin on it about what Kerry said. And I think he's wise.
American administration subsequently, one after the other, and said the Iran threat is metastasizing, and they did nothing about it. In fact, they restrained Israel to the degree that we had October 7th, and October 7th, Israel said, I'm not going to be restrained anymore. Likewise, we had Iran develop a ballistic missile program that was prohibitive.
Look at Sourpuss on the left here. This lady, ooh, scowly Democrat lady. I don't miss what he said. We said we want to go into Iran and restrain them. Obama said no, and we got October 7th. By the way, the same thing with Ukraine. Ukraine asked, for help from Biden much earlier, and they were so weak in their response, and no one believed that he had any teeth, that Russia invaded. That's why Trump said they would never have invaded when I was there. Wouldn't have happened.
And a uranium enrichment program that had gotten to 60% uranium. So yeah, all of that did happen over the course of several administrations that did nothing about it. And Secretary,
look at her face. It's getting worse. Why does Iran have enriched uranium? Why? Because Biden and Obama were weak. Why don't they have enriched uranium now? Because Trump is strong, and he went in and bombed the living daylights out of it, buried it under the earth. Why? Because of Trump. So now they don't have it. And now this lady on the left, look at her. This is what happens when you have to go visit human resources at your work. Look at her. Welcome to Human Resources. This is time for your sensitivity training. We heard what you said in the water room. You're under review.
Kerry is saying, well, that was the correct course. It got us to here. It succeeded. The successive events got us to the point.
The part that you're missing is that there was the Obama deal in the middle there. There was a deal that happened. So Obama signed a deal which Trump ripped up that limited their uranium enrichment, that said no nuclear weapons, that allowed international inspectors to ensure their compliance.
It would have
Can
expired.
you actually just let me speak for like one frickin' second, bro? Thank you so much.
Don't bro me. Honky Karen Honky. Her name is Lee McGowan. Ugh. Talk about human resources. Can I just talk for one freaking second? Something tells me you've talked for more than one freaking second in your life.
There was a deal, and Trump came in and said, I can get a better deal. And he ripped it up. And he didn't get a better deal. And then he went into that country at the request of another country's leader, and he spent $50 billion and killed thousands of civilians and at least 13 American soldiers, and hundreds of American soldiers are injured. We've heard our bases, we've heard our radar. People hate America now. We had a president.
They hate America now. Well, they loved America under Biden because we weren't going to do anything. That's why do you think Russia loved America? Why do you think Iran and every terrorist in the world loved America? This argument is so dumb. Now they hate America. The Democrats always run on this. We have to repair our relationship with the world because of what the Republicans did. They ran on that with Reagan. They ran on that with Bush. They ran on that with Trump. We have to heal our relationship with the world by blowing France.
Say that we're going to destroy an entire civilization. That's like if I came home and I held a gun to my wife's head and I said, for 13 hours, I'm going to say, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to blow your brains out. Just kidding. We'll talk about it again in 2 weeks. That does not make you a good negotiator. That doesn't make you a good guy. It makes you psychotic. And
wait. Why is this lady using an analogy of blowing your wife's head off? First of all, she's a woman. But second of all, Iran is not our wife. The Iran lunatic, suicidal, terrorist funding, war against America for 47 years, that's not our wife. So if you don't mind, I can hold a gun to their head. It's not this. Now to her, to the Democrat Party, they're like, that's our wife, that terrorist regime. We love her. You know, the regime that throws acid in women's faces and marries 9-year-old child brides, that's our bride. That's our wife.
the leader of the free world, and everyone knows that now. So no, this is not some winning strategy that Trump came in after years of being begged to help with Iran. This is not what's happening.
The JCPOA did not touch ballistic missiles, and it allowed for
Bro,
legitimized.
you know where we're at right now. It's not good. Listen.
Mommy and daddy are arguing again. Ooh, that's rough. But his main thing is he's quoting successes by Trump. And the Democrats are just doing their old playbook of we need to, you know, why does the world hate us? Because we're successful. That's the truth. Because we're patriots. Because we have our children instead of killing them. Because we have leave our elderly around instead of killing them. That's why they hate us. Here's Kim Longnecker, $50 super chat. Thank you so much, and member. I'm on lunch break. Glad you are alive. Well, my lady, I'm glad you're alive too. We're going to stay alive. I need a lunch break. What are you eating? I don't get to see you live much, by the way. I was also born in 1966. My sister, my people. Kim, we love you, Kim. In my class of 1984, high school, class of 1984. Thanks for watching, love. Here we go. It gets better. This guy is an Emirati expert in strategic and political affairs in the Middle East. All I know is he has the turban on there, or not a turban, whatever they call it. For the Trump administration to understand, the Strait of Hormuz is not open, all caps. The UAE, that's the United Arab Emirates, does not and will never accept the Islamic regime in Iran imposing conditions on access to the Strait of Hormuz. This is true. Iran cannot claim the Strait of Hormuz as their own because it's a waterway, similar to the Panama Canal, similar to you're going to see this keep coming up this week. Everyone sees Iran starting to charge for escorting ships through the strait. It's really a threat of terrorism. It's like the mafia saying, it's a shame something had happened to your business. You better pay us some insurance money to keep the bad guys away. That's what Iran's doing. They're being the mafia. The UAE is saying, never. Will they be okay with Islamic regime imposing conditions on access? The UAE is not Britain or the EU. It does not accept any terrorist actor like Britain and the EU accepts terrorist actors. It does not accept any terrorist actor restricting freedom of navigation. By the way, our founders wrote these exact words. on international shipping. I'll read some of that in a minute. As for Pakistan, Turkey, and Saudi Arabia negotiating to keep the regime afloat, understand this: no state has a legitimate right to decide who may pass and under what terms. That is international law, not a bargaining chip. This also goes against Trump if he says we'll just participate in the fee that they charge. We'll just take half of it. No, the United Arab Emirates and the rest of the world knows those shipping lanes must be open and they must be free. It's illegal to charge. It's not a bargaining chip. No bargain. Shame on the United Kingdom, NATO, European Union, and anyone who tolerates this regime's terrorism and piracy. I'll bet you guys didn't think you'd find an incredible ally in the United Arab Emirates. The United Arab Emirates, that, by the way, that right before Trump got into office was helping house terrorists, helping launder money through Iranian terrorists. And now they're kicking the regime out. They're going, we're done with this regime. All done. Wait, there's more. You guys are now better educated, I think, than any other audience on the Strait of Hormuz. Just by letting these people tell their story, you're getting a huge lay of the land of what it's all about, guys. You're gaining wisdom. So am I. Here's Hussein Hakini, 450,000 followers. He's a senior fellow at the Hudson Institute, Anwar Gargash Diplomatic Academy, Abu Dhabi, Pakistan, ambassador to the U.S. 2008 to 2011. Under Obama, author, member council on foreign relations. Here we go. He says the Strait of Hormuz is an international strait under UN Convention on the Law of the Sea, which Iran has not ratified. All ships and aircraft enjoy freedom of navigation and overflight. You can fly over it and you can send your ships through it. I should be able to sail through that thing on my little sailboat. I don't have a sailboat, but if I did, maybe I'd sail it right through the Strait of Hormuz and maybe go live with you guys using my Starlink internet connection. No state can suspend this right. No state can suspend this right, Iran. So we might just find, in contradistinction to that blonde lunatic on CNN, we might just gain some allies here. This is an Obama guy, ambassador. He might go, yeah, I'm with Trump. We got to keep the strait open and it must remain free. Rights are not subject to negotiation and renegotiation. He's citing a right the way that our Constitution cites a right. Are you guys catching that? It's a human right to the free open seas. Now, this is a very risky part of my show. Why? Because I brought with me, I have the Federalist Papers. Oh, Doug, are we doing the Federalist Papers? Yes, we are. I'm not going to read all of them. Just a tiny excerpt, I promise, but it's absolutely brilliant, okay? This is written by Hamilton. This is before our country began. They wrote the Federalist Papers as they were carving up and philosophizing about what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Well, this one happens to be on international shipping. He's proposing a navy. And what are we going to do about Europe if they cut off our international shipping? Let me find where I need to read from. I swear you guys are going to find this. This is absolutely fascinating. It's a little dense. It's a little hard to understand. I'm a barely literate comic book artist, but I still read the Federalist Papers. That's what Victor Davis Hanson did. Our position is, in this respect, a most commanding one. And if to this consideration we add that of the usefulness of supplies from this country in the prosecution of military operations in the West Indies, it will steadily be perceived that a situation so favorable would enable us to bargain with great advantage for commercial privileges. They're talking about the sea and about what if the UK and say India or some other country are fighting and we go in and leverage them by going in and doing our own shipping and cutting side deals. It's exactly what Trump is talking about with Iran. Trump is Hamilton. It's the exact same situation they're talking about here. Hamilton continues, a price would be set not only upon our friendship, but upon our neutrality. So being neutral has a price, and being friends with Israel, let's say, has a price. By a steady adherence to the Union, we may hope ere long to become the arbiter of Europe in America and to be able to incline the balance of European competition in this part of the world as our interest may dictate. He's saying what he's trying to do is get the influence on our side by having an active Navy over there. But in the reverse of this eligible situation, we shall discover that the rival ships of the parts would make them checks upon each other. Now he's trying to get the other people at war with each other, which I believe is one of Trump's strategies. He wants China at Iran's throat if Iran shuts down the Strait of Hormuz. Trump's also using the 31 provinces against each other. He's going to negotiate with one as the king leader and probably send them Scooby snacks. And the other 30 provinces, because they're all maniacal, jealous regimes, are going to go to war and they're going to be fighting each other. And that's what Trump wants. That's my theory. They'll do checks upon each other and would frustrate all the tempting advantages which nature has kindly placed within our reach. In a state so insignificant, our commerce would be a prey to the wanton intermeddling of all nations at war with each other. We would benefit if we could get them turned against each other, who, having nothing to fear from us, would with little scruple or remorse supply their wants by depredations on our property as often as it fell in their way. Our property is in trouble if it falls in their way and we're not militarily active. He says we don't have to get involved in everything, but we have to be shipping over there. The rights of neutrality will only be respected. This is to the Democrats and to the people and the isolationists going, we're just going to remain neutral. The rights of neutrality will be respected when they are defended by an adequate power. A nation despicable by its weakness forfeits even the privilege of being neutral. In other words, our neutrality, peace, I'm going to go into the Pope in a minute. Peace is afforded by war. Peace is afforded by absolute military strength and threatening, which Trump did. He said, I will end your civilization. He didn't do it. He didn't mean it. But that's how he got peace. There's a ceasefire, allegedly. People need to learn these strategies. Hamilton and the founding papers, these guys are geniuses. I like Madison. He's more Christian, but Hamilton's in there too. And Jefferson. Yeah, it's peace through strength, guys. The philosophy is there. The founders are talking about the Strait of Hormuz. The founders are talking about maritime shipping between us and UK, but they also bring up the Barbary pirates, which Jefferson had to deal with. Pirates over there, and we're going, hey, we have to secure the right of passage. And UK and France, they would just pay the Barbary pirates a bribe. They paid the bribe. Now Iran is saying, we'll give you safe passage if you pay a bribe. Jefferson said, I will not pay a bribe. How about we kill your generals, pack them in a pig's corpse, and send it back to you by ship? That's what we did to Islamic radicals then. And lo and behold, we're still fighting Islamic radicals now. Why? Because it's a suicidal death cult. You want to talk about strange bedfellows? How about Mike Pence? You guys are all going to throw up now. Don't diss me. I'm only making the case. Trump's building gets strange coalition with Mike Pence. Listen.
Are you even surprised about the lack of support for this mission among Democrats who should know better, talking about 25th Amendment and impeachment?
Well, am I surprised the Democrats are playing politics in the midst of war? No, but they do know better. I mean, the simple fact is, my years in the Congress on the International Relations Committee, my years as vice president,
Governor,
people know on both sides of the aisle what Iran did to American forces during the Iraq War. They essentially provided the IEDs that claimed over 600 American lives.
He's making the case for Trump's battle in Iran. And I might agree with all you guys saying Pence is a rhino, Judas Pence, he's a backstabber. I'm only saying he's less of a backstabber than Thomas Massey. He's less of a rhino than Marjorie Taylor Greene. He's less of a traitor than every Democrat. So you can throw up all you want, say all your names. This guy has the guts to support Trump. That is, he doesn't have a Trump derangement syndrome that makes him work against his own country just because he hates Trump. He no doubt hates Trump. But he's not a lunatic hating Trump, like people that don't want to support this battle in Iran. That's all. That's all. Or Thomas Massey. Here's Thomas Massey tweet. He says, America first is bigger than MAGA. He has the little angle thing. Thomas Massey says, America first is bigger than, by the way, I tweeted against Massey and supported, you guys saw me support live Ed Galrain, who's running against Massey. And my whole Twitter feed blew up with bots saying I was a Jew effer, that I went to bed with Jew. It was all anti-Semites going, Jew lover, you're a Jew lover. These are the people that support Thomas Massey. Racist, anti-Semite, lunatics, foul-mouthed lunatics, blanker. So you can give all the names that you want to Mike Pence, so long as you give twice as many names to Thomas Massey for being even worse, even more of a, and they come to me going like, no, Thomas Massey's the only constitutionalist. No, he's to the left of Mike Pence. He's less supportive of MAGA than Mike Pence. So's Rand Paul. Oh, take that. Okay, here we go. This is on, is there a cure? You guys can tell me, is there a cure for Trump derangement syndrome? Here's Lindy Lee, opportunist Democrat, who after she raised a bunch of money for the Democrats, turned on him, went to Trump.
I was one of those people who were stricken by Trump derangement syndrome. Thankfully, I've recovered from that. But one of the shining moments for me was when I realized that the entire leftist propagandist network went from criticizing Kamala Harris 24 hours before, and upon her ascension on July 21st, suddenly she was a second coming of Jesus. Okay, so anything they say is just in furtherance of their own political ambitions. It has nothing to do with the truth. There's no semblance of credibility here. I wouldn't listen to them for 1 second.
She's literally repeating. I mean, I don't think she listens to me, but that's literally the exact line I've said. Don't pretend like these people care. You can just ignore it. They absolutely do not care. They don't have a value rolling around in their heads.
Lindy, did you go to Hogan's doctor?
I thought Trump derangement syndrome was terminal. I didn't know you could recover. I think the only
I'm one of
solution.
the only people in the world, apparently.
She and John Fetterman.
I think it's from watching Newsmax.
You and Dr. Oz should get together and market that whatever.
Dr. Oz is actually a great friend of mine. He's a
billionaires.
tremendous public servant. I am so happy he is serving the United States.
So what is it about Dr. Oz and this Lindy Lee that can somehow overcome their Trump derangement syndrome? This abject, insane hatred of Donald Trump that makes people make incredibly bad decisions. No bigger Donald Trump hater than Joy Reid. It's been a long time. This lady, the invisible lady. Holy cow. Talk about TDS.
Make Trump an adjudicated war criminal. Make Hegseth an adjudicated war criminal. Make Marco Rubio an adjudicated war criminal.
They're war criminals. Not just Trump. Rubio. Hegseth. If Democrats win. They're war criminals. They will be tried for war crimes. That's what's at stake with 2026. That's why I just want to win. Anyone who opposes the Republican Party, even Trump joined the Republican, he was a Democrat, joined the Republican Party to win. Even loser Thomas Massie and Rand Paul, they only joined the Republican Party because they knew that if they went with the Libertarian Party, they would lose. To Alex Jones and Marjorie Taylor Greene, you think you're going to fight the Democrat Party without supporting the Republican Party? It will never happen. Just go send money to Joy Reid while you're at it, because you're doing nothing. There will be no win for Trump or conservatives outside of, number one, the Republican Party and MAGA combined, Republican Party and MAGA, and it needs to be over economic issues, securing the border, and ending crime. That's the problem. Republicans cannot, they're the winning party, but you can't get over the finish line without MAGA. MAGA is a winning movement. You cannot win in an independent party. You cannot win if you join with the Democrats, if you go libertarian. And that's why we're glued to Trump. He's the only way that it wins. There's no other strategy. I've tried. Do the math. Tell him, give me another situation. Can't do it. Joy Reid. She's going to war crime. Hegseth and Marco. I thought Marco Rubio was the nice one. I thought Marco Rubio was the one. I thought he was a rhino. I thought now Trump's bad, but Marco Rubio's no. They want Marco Rubio on war crimes.
I pray that some wise country, and maybe
you prayed to the devil.
Maybe again, it has to be South Africa, which has the moral authority, having done it with Israel. Someone, please, for the love of God, charge these people, at least start an investigation for war crimes. For the love of God, please do it. Take these people to the Hague. Y'all need to propose a solution that can happen. So my solution to me makes more sense.
What is
the Hague? It's much more likely that the international community will drag these suckers to the Hague than it is that an impeachment can get out of the House or survive a Senate vote. The United States has never successfully convicted an impeached president. It's never happened. And the 25th Amendment's never been used. Even when Ronald Reagan got shot, it was on one time it was sort of semi-used. So
now the good news is Joy Reid is did you hear what she just said? She's admitting they're not going to be able to impeach President Trump. That's the good news. A Democrat, the most psychotic Democrat in the world, has just said, look, the votes aren't there. We've never successfully removed a president through impeachment. It won't happen. They don't have the votes. So now she's just praying. And I heard someone else mention the Hague. I did a video on it last week. I think it was Swalwell. They just said, look, next time the Hague tries to get Trump, the Democrats won't stop them. They'll let them come get him and force him up. She's going, international law doesn't have to follow America, our own state system. So that's what they're praying for. But it does kind of show a weakness, right? They're admitting if they're relying on The Hague, they're admitting they're not going to get what they want from even if they win Congress. Did you hear that? Even if they win in 2026 and they can try to 25th Amendment him or impeach him, Joy Reid doesn't think they'd win that. This is this is a new topic here. We're going to do some AI. The audio's oddly hot on this one, a little hot.
Determined, Jonathan, to not be on the wrong side of history for my country and for my son in trying to ring the alarm bell about the AI revolution and just how massive it is. It may revolutionize life in a positive way. It may destroy the planet. But explain the connection between the revolution of the founding of this nation and the revolutionary moment we find ourselves in now.
Well, what I talk about is I take the most conservative studies, there's a great number of them, the United States, Canada, Europe, on AI and robotics. And it's really the combination that I'm interested in, because it seems like that combination is what's going to cause the greatest economic and social upheaval. I take the most conservative estimates. And even at those estimates, we're looking at a job loss that the world has never seen. Certainly this country's never seen. And the problem is that you'll have a large population of not just unemployed, but potentially unemployable citizens. I'm a great believer in the free market. And I think that the free market will create new jobs for a new economy, but it will take time. And during that period, we're very likely looking at some type of universal basic income or some
UBI, universal basic income. Because so many jobs will be lost. It's the communists that always want the universal basic income. It's way anti Milt Friedman, Hayek, conservative economics. But the theory checks out. I never thought I'd say I was okay with universal basic income. The theory checks out. Here's why. All the AI and robotics people are saying that labor is going to become so cheap with robots and AI. And it's going to just sweep across many, many industries. Let's say, yeah, Musk, that's right, Desk Jedi, Musk wants UBI as well. It's not because they're communists and they believe that you have a right to a universal basic income. It's because they're saying we're going to be so flush with profits and money from robots and AI that the economics will no longer be the great American work ethic, that's how you make money and live. That's how disruptive and profitable AI and robots are. What's UBI? Universal basic income. UBI is universal basic income. A universal basic income means that basically if you're an American citizen, then you get a basic income. You get a certain amount of money a year. Let's say it's kind of like what Alaska does with their oil rights. You'll get $75,000 a year just for living here. Milt Friedman's always against universal basic income because he goes, as soon as everyone has $75,000, that $75,000 is worthless because everyone has it. And you don't have to do something to get it anymore because the robots and AI are all doing it. So it's in some way like Alaska. They go, look, if you can just come up and live here, you'll get our oil rights and we'll give you money just for living here. It's the same thing that happened in Canada and Calgary with their mineral rights. They made so much money in Canada and they don't have that big of a population that they funded their entire animation industry for like 40 years. They welfared through the government. They wanted to build cultures. They were making all this money with oil rights and mineral rights that they just said, we're going to put it into animation. Well, 40 years later, when I did VeggieTales, it was all animated in Canada. And that was back in 2016, 10 years ago. None of us could compete with Canada. Number one, they had more talented animators than we did. And they could underprice every other studio, including Korea and Japan and all that, they could underprice every studio. Why? Because they invested with their universal Canadian income in an animation art form, and then no one else could compete with it. So UBI, it's similar. What if your robots and your AI are so powerful and they literally replaced, say, not truly human jobs? My daughter's a nurse. She's not afraid of AI because she just goes, look, the human touch, human face, you might have a helper, to go wash your dirty laundry, but patients, and China has done this too. China's looked into we're going to replace all of our workforce with robots. And they just go, it can't be in nursing and stuff that needs a human being. Maybe like a therapist, you can't replace them, even if a robot AI is better. But an assembly line, self-driving cars, taxis, trucking, if a self-driving truck is more safe on average than most truckers, you won't be able to get insurance if you have a human driver anymore. I know that sounds weird, but I've read and used a lot of AI. It's coming, and it's mostly it's here. You're not going to need an accountant to do your taxes. You're going to you're just going to take a picture of all of your costs and everything, and it'll just spit out your taxes. Okay. So when that happens, because Steve Turley, I'm sorry, not Steve Turley, Jonathan Turley. Steve Turley is the other YouTuber. Jonathan Turley, because he predicts so many jobs will be disrupted, and you have robots doing coal mining, strip mining, going out to asteroids mining, moon mining, lab work. You're going to need a UBI, universal basic income, that will probably come as a tax on all robot and AI labor that will get re-put back into a system, and every American gets a universal basic income. Suddenly the pressure is off that you have to go out and work to feed yourself. You'll be able to go out and work for enjoyment. I believe mankind will always work.
Other subsidy for a large number of citizens. And what I ask is that, how does that change the relationship between citizens and the state? While a lot of those other studies look at how it changes the economics, I'm more interested in how it changes that critical relationship for any republic when you have citizens who are dependent entirely on the government, and a large percentage of them. What I say in the book is that this republic doesn't work if it has a kept citizenry. That is, if the citizens are dependent.
And I agree with this. I just believe we will still work for the country, not as a kept citizenship, but if your universal basic income and all your bills are paid for, you must still work. And I'm just saying the work may go more toward philanthropy, like charity work, serving each other, building for each other, instead of just what's the bottom line profit. I believe that, and that's, anyways, that's the kind of tectonic shift we're talking about with AI and robots. Wait, there's more. New York Post. More news. Majority of voters say New York City is on the wrong track under Zoran Mamdani, says a poll. You guys voted for this. His reveals his strategy to combat the high cost of living. It's always going to be to tax the rich more. He needs to embrace robots and AI. Mayor Mamdani reveals his strategy to combat the high cost of living. A majority of voters say New York City is on the wrong track during Zoran Mamdani's first 100 days in office, fueled by discontent among Hispanics and Black and Asian voters, the minorities. Well, there you go. A poll released Thursday found. Why are white people so satisfied with Mamdani? So Trump isn't the only one with low polls. Mamdani is getting slaughtered. You're going to get more taxes back than ever before. How do I know? Smart people.
What do you see this year in terms of how many people are getting refunds and how much money is being sent back? Yeah, we see actually a lot of good news in the tax refund space. Refunds are up about $350 per filer. That's about 11% relative to last year. The IRS, the Treasury Department, has already issued more than $220 billion in tax refunds, more than last year, and 2% more than last year, 2% more filers than last year are getting refunds. So that's all really good news at a time when a lot of people are stressing out about taxes. It's nice to get a bit of good news and a little bit more cash in our pockets.
More refunds, more funding back in your pockets. That's because of Trump. Wait, there's more. This one was funny. I mean, funny, tragic funny. Washington Examiner. Mental health worsened after gender transitions for youth. Can you imagine that? When a boy says he thinks he's a girl, and so you do a gender transition, their mental health worsens. It doesn't get better. Remember, they were holding parents hostage with this threat that if you don't help trans your kid, or some of you, your grandkids, if you don't agree with it, they're going to commit suicide because of you. No, now we find out they're more likely to commit suicide after a transition if you agree with them. Major new study finds. I only agree with studies. I only quote studies when they agree with me, by the way. This one agrees with me. If they don't agree with me, the study is empirically wrong. Sorry. Adolescents struggling with gender dysphoria who sought gender transition medical treatment were found to have worse mental symptoms in the long term compared to their peers. What does this have to do with politics? Everything. This is what the Democrat Party ran on last time. They ran on a policy that hurts children and makes them worse. Just another Democrat Party. This is, by the way, the law of the land in California under Gavin Newsom. Worse. Even your trans kids are more likely to die under Democrats. We never put an X next to a Democrat. Do you want your kids to die? Are you kidding? It's contradicting the belief that so-called gender-affirming care significantly improves outcomes. And Trump, in his wisdom, ran against this and said, we're not doing these surgeries anymore, his presidential order. And Democrats said, you're killing trans people if you don't give them what they want. Lo and behold, a major study shows that Democrats are evil, trying to kill your kids, spiraling them into depression. The more liberal you are, the more likely you're on antidepressants, and miserable and hate life. What a miserable trap to be in. That's why we're happy That's why we're happy patriots. We're happy. We're not so unhappy that we try and mutilate other people. You can't mutilate our kids. Youth patients with gender dysphoria who were referred to gender medicine clinics in Finland were upward of 3 times as likely to need psychiatric treatment following their referral compared to patients without a history of gender transition, counseling, or interventions. For the record, you'll get similar numbers with women that get an abortion. They're less happy. And I don't need to go into it more than that. I think in general, when you give mankind his way, he's less happy. When you give mankind his way, not his freedom, because freedom doesn't pick a way. Freedom means you're free to choose to get whatever you want, or you're free to practice the discipline of not getting everything you want. Oh, now we're doing the Pope. Okay, here comes the Pope. Pope Leo. This is so bad. I'm embarrassed for Catholics. I have a lot of Catholics in my audience. You guys know how bad this is. Every single word of this tweet, I hope it's not, I don't think it's ex cathedra. I don't think it's from the Holy Seat and official, infallible, because every single word of this is false. Pope Leo says, God does not bless any conflict. Come on, Pope. God does not bless any conflict. It's so easy to negate this stuff. Jesus turned over tables in the temple. I assume it's blessed. We killed Nazi Germany. That was a conflict. Did he bless it? We ended slavery in America. Did he bless it? God does not bless any conflict. If someone comes after your family and you in your house and you shoot them in the face instead of allowing them to murder your daughter, that's a blessed event. He says, anyone who is a disciple of Christ. So now he's talking about me. He's not my pope. You don't have authority over me, dude. Not my father. And no, you're not an intercessory between me and God. Don't need you between us. Don't need your absolution. Anyone who is a disciple of Christ, me, the Prince of Peace, is never on the side of those who once wielded the sword and today drop bombs. Catholics in my audience, do you agree? This isn't a trick question. I want to hear what genuine, devout, how often do you go to Mass? Tell me all about what you think. He says, as any disciple of Christ is never on the side of those who once wielded the sword and today drop bombs. I mean, my son's in the military. He's in boot camp. He's also a follower of Jesus Christ as his Lord and Savior. Johnny is a Marine. Wielded the sword. In fact, he just did bayonet training the other week. Boom, boom. You stab the haystack or whatever. And drop bombs. He says you can't be a follower of Christ. Sorry. Military action. The Pope says, again, I can't believe there's no way he can be thinking this. This is his Twitter account. It's in English. Military action will not create space for freedom or times of peace. You can't believe this. Military action will not create space for freedom. Our country was fought militarily to create a space for freedom or times of peace. I believe you can't get peace without military action. That's my counterclaim to the Pope. I'm a barely literate comic book artist. This is just wrong. Every word of it. Military action will not create space for freedom or times of peace, which comes only, this is his claim, freedom and peace comes only from the patient promotion of coexistence and dialogue among the peoples. Good Lord, you're an idiot. He wants to dialogue and sit down and have and demand coexistence with the terrorists that smacked 2 planes into the buildings in 9/11. Is that your big deal? This is a moral fool. He's a moral idiot. Here's a good one. Some of you would have told David to pray for Goliath and not to cause a scene. True. So that is just shockingly false. And I'm not trying to score points against Catholics. I'm not saying leave your faith. I don't want to, I'm not here to relive the you know, the Protestant Reformation, though I am a reformer. But I will tell you this much, that Pope, he will never be my Pope. And I feel bad for Catholics where he is their Pope, especially patriots, because I think it's a really tough time. I have a lot of Catholic friends. Our best friends across the street are Catholics. And in fact, we've never argued over Catholicism versus Protestantism. We just don't, we know better than to talk about it. And we also both we all know what each other thinks, right? Okay, here's another one. Let me do this. I'm going to break that connection. I'm going to bring up this new piece on the Pope. Again, it's not Hate Catholic Day, guys. But this is from Caroline Leavitt. And this is also what the fake news was posted by Sean Ryan, trying to create conflict where there was none. Caroline Leavitt says, U.S. Ambassador to the Holy See, Cardinal Pierre, calls stories of the Pentagon threatening the Vatican fabrications. So this is from the Catholic Church regarding the fake news people that said Trump threatened the Vatican. The Holy See, Cardinal Pierre, backs up Trump, says, no, that's a fabrication, that's fake news. So I thank the Catholic Church. I'm not here just to throw them under the bus. I'm thankful they sent leadership out to clarify that. Let's get back to the Straits of Hormuz and those rights. Brandon Straka, Iran's supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, signals a new phase over the Strait of Hormuz, warning Tehran won't back down while tensions escalate. Uh-oh. Here we go.
A statement was released via state media from Iran's new supreme leader saying, quote, and certainly we are entering a new era with management of the Strait of Hormuz. We did not and do not seek war, but we will not give up our rightful rights in any way. And for this, we consider all the fronts of resistance as one.
Again, we're in trouble. We're going to go back in, guys. I'm going to wrap this up real quick and prove it to you. It's been 2 hours and 40 minutes. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for keeping me from dying of loneliness. Okay. Tom Bevan, NBC News. Remember all the media stories like this about the money spent on Ukraine? Me either. What's he saying? Here they are complaining. The U.S. has spent billions on the Iran war. What else could that money have bought? They never said that about the war in Ukraine. We've spent billions on the war in Ukraine. Where's the article? They don't care. This is throwing General Mike Flynn under the bus, and I just read something positive about General Flynn by Roger Stone, who backed up Flynn. So this one was interesting to me. The Flynn Network's Peter Berniger, shows us exactly how they are working to destroy the GOP and help the Democrats. He's directly taking credit for this Wisconsin GOP loss here. Excuse me. For years, they've been engaged in targeting narrative campaigns based on the partial truths with false conclusions mixed with outright lies. Their objective: disenfranchise Republican voters. My goal is to re-enfranchise public voters, get them back in. Convince them there is no reason to vote at all. Their primary two narratives, and you'll hear this. Number one, and I'll see this in the chat, and I'll correct you guys every time I see it. I think you're wrong. Number one, when you hear people say it's all rigged, so there's no point in voting. And Flynn said both these things. It's all rigged, so there's no point in voting. Number two, all Republicans are rhinos, so don't bother voting for them. And that is why I bring rhinos on my show every once in a while and say something positive about them if they're agreeing with Trump. But those are the two positions is how you lose the Republican Party. If you examine both claims honestly, you will find that they are heavily steeped in deliberate deceit and lies. They want to destroy America by destroying the GOP. To win this year, we need to not only confront the lies from the Democrats, we need to confront these two lies. Here's Peter Berniger. State Department court election results. He says only 16% of Republicans, generally speaking, turned out for Maria Lazar. Why? Two of the main reasons. Number one, citizens know elections are rigged 100 different ways. So just so you guys know, this is used for Democrats, and that's why I don't say it. I say they may be rigged, but you still go vote. 100% go vote. Number two, secondly, when they get a Republican in it, is just a Democrat in disguise, like John Thune. This guy says. So this is one of General Flynn's guys. This is how you make sure Republicans lose. If Republicans lose, Trump loses. Trump goes to jail, lame duck, impeached. It's also why I'm very reluctant to criticize John Thune. I don't like the guy. He has wrong tactics. But we need him. You're not going to replace him. I want to convince him to pick the right thing. Brandon Straka. Oh, man, now this one's good. Alex Jones here is drunk. This is on his own show this morning on InfoWars. You got to see this. By the way, he looks very handsome in this suit. I like this outfit. This is what I wear, jeans. He has a button-down shirt. I usually wear a T-shirt and a suit coat. Looking trim. But here he is. He's slobbering drunk.
It's literally the same talking points that we've heard 10,000 times before. I hope Alex is coming on. I was about to say.
I'm going to go shoot a report, but I'm just wondering if Trump's been held hostage or something. So listen, I'm not mad about this. He's mad that he's wrong. And
Trump's mad that he's wrong. Trump's mad that he's wrong. Is that why he's mad? Because he went after Alex Jones yesterday, called him out as a lunatic, and now he's got to do some repair. Look at these three half men all around him at the desk. Sorry, guys. They look like the church softball team. Sorry, guys.
he's mad he got set up by Israel, and once a man, twice a child. This is dementia. And so, it doesn't matter. We're going to keep intervening. He knows he was wrong about Iran.
I can't understand what he's saying. Do you understand what he's saying there? Pour me another drink, bartender. Make it a double. $5 super chat. I was upset when he was drunk on the Tim Pool and had to leave. Oh yeah, he was sloshed. He was so far gone there. But here, I'm going to play this again. You tell me what he's saying.
And so, it doesn't matter. We're going to keep intervening. He knows he was wrong about Iran. He's throwing a fit, and it's okay. We're going to continue to be adults and just respond to this.
Yeah. Yeah.
He needs some zeolites.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, you passed a laugh. Okay. Beta males. Here's Eyal Jacobi. It cannot be understated just how wrong these experts were. This is expert Doug McGregor. He said intervention, this is back before we went and intervened in Venezuela. He said intervention in Venezuela with the aim of replacing Maduro will end up like Afghanistan. We invade, we bomb, and we spend $2 trillion for 20 years. and to replace the Taliban with the Taliban. That's what he said of Maduro in Venezuela. This is what they all say. The Panicans do anytime your military draws a weapon. But we are not in Venezuela. It's not a $20 billion, it's not a war prolonged 20 years. You're wrong. He's literally wrong. They guessed wrong. It's easy to guess that. I get it. Instead, here's the BBC. The U.S. refineries are now processing Venezuelan oil. We're getting oil. Cranking it out. That was just posted yesterday. Wasn't a prolonged war. We don't know the future about Iran, guys. We do not know. But I do know this. This is my big prediction on the show. Trump just tweeted this. The world's most powerful reset. I've been teasing this all day. All caps. The world most powerful reset. Do you know what reset he's talking about? I'm going to tell you in a minute. Reset. All caps. He's a genius. What did he do in the ceasefire? He started the world's most powerful reset. Which reset? Daniel, Hanukkah. Did you know Trump cannot wage war for over 60 days without Congress? Remember that. That's the War Powers Act, 1973. We have 30 days left to keep shooting up Iran because we already spent 30 days without Congress. But if there is a ceasefire and fighting resumes, the clock resets. Trump just got another 60 days, guys. People are going like, why would he agree to this ceasefire? This is the dumbest thing ever. Why would he agree to it? It's obvious Iran is not going to cease firing. They've been bombing all their neighbors all night. Why would Trump stop bombing for our ceasefire? It was going like, oh, he's so stupid. China and Iran, they're just going to reconnoiter. They're going to put all their military back together and get their bombs together. No, he just reset the clock on the War Powers Act with a ceasefire. Winning, suckers. That's right. This is a genius move. Other news people won't even tell you about it. They're still waiting for this show to stop so they can know what to tell you to think. I'm like Rush used to say, I'm the other show's research guys. They'll report on this to you tomorrow. If there's a ceasefire and fighting resumes, the clock resets. Meanwhile, the U.S. airlift to the Middle East is still going full speed. We're sending planes over there, as we reported earlier, like crazy. And many ground forces are already there. Here's the last little piece of news I've got left.
Tells Fox News Iran is indeed demanding fees for the few vessels it's allowing to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. This official adds the strait is effectively under full IRGC control. They decide who gets to go through, but more importantly, who doesn't. I am told that there is intelligence being shared in the intel community about how Iran is trying to tighten its grip on this strait ahead of the negotiations this weekend.
Iran's trying to tighten its grips on the state. It's against human rights. It's against our founders. Trump knows it. The number one point of the whole list is you can't have nukes. And number two is the Straits of Hormuz must be open and free. We're gathering allies along that. We now have intel that Iran is trying to put a stranglehold on the Strait of Hormuz. I predict fireworks are going to come. And yes, MAGA Justin, $10 super chat. Member, I'm not tired of winning. All caps. Love the Exile family. I love you. I love you too. I love you guys. You keep me from being alone. I'm going to keep bringing you the news, guys. But Trump, Reset the clock. I'll do more research on that. More shows to come today. Don't forget to call Chapter. I'll have that phone number in the description and down first pinned comment below. I'm Doug. In Exile. Get ready. We're going back in.